Here's Tyson Forster. Here in the shootout. Forster swings to the right circle, looks at the net, shoot, he scores! Tyson Forster puts it behind Bussey. The shootout lead for the Flyers in the fourth round.
And that Tyson Forster goal has put the Flyers in the playoffs. They will face the Pittsburgh Penguins. Holy mackerel. What a night. What a night. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Hennings producing today's show. You out there. The Flyers are going back to the playoffs. What a game last night. What a run it's been. And we're going to get into it as obviously people are cooking, thinking about this team getting back to the playoffs. First time a playoff game will be played in Philadelphia whenever they come back home since 2018 was the last time they had playoff hockey at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. And obviously you got the Forrester goal there, but the Vladar save that is very reminiscent of how they got into the playoffs in 2010 when Brian Boucher gets the save on the shootout, and that Flyers team went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. Does this team have that same makeup? Well, it's something we'll talk about later on tonight with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider. He's been there every step of the way since the beginning of the season, since the beginning of this run back in 2010. He wasn't quite on the beat at that point, but Kevin has been covering the Flyers for our website and for our station for 11 years now. And he might be a nondescript guy to many because the Flyers have not given him very many things, but I don't know that there's too many better when it comes to covering the Flyers. And we're going to be getting a lot of Durso over the next couple of weeks. I look forward to that. Obviously, you know, you get the 2-goal deficit last night, and it just felt early. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Carolina gets on the board first early, and obviously they get on the board again. It's 2-0 Carolina. And listen, this is a Carolina team that's pretty good, but last night they are playing with a bunch of guys sitting out, and it is deflating to know you're in the first intermission down 2-0, and then you get the goal from Michkov, then you get the goal from Zegras, and to get all the way to the overtime, and there was a lot of moments. I mean, it was some up and back stuff in that overtime period, and you get into a situation where you needed some big plays. Zegras, one of the best, I believe he's the best shootout participant in history. He doesn't get it to go. Michkov doesn't get it to go. And you need Tyson Forrester, who I think is 1 of 8 entering the shootout, and he gets the goal that puts you in. I mean, it is just an unbelievable way to get yourself into the playoffs again. First time the Flyers are in the playoffs since 2020, but the first time they'll have playoff hockey in Philly since 2018. Remember, in 2020, that was the bubble year, so the Flyers did not host any games in that one. They win 3-2 last night over Carolina, and obviously they will play Pittsburgh now. We'll break down that series a little bit. I believe that series is going to start on Saturday, possibly Sunday. But think about this. You could have the Flyers playing on Saturday, and if the Sixers win tonight, they would play on Sunday, and we could have a week and a half of some real fun stuff. I don't know that the Sixers are going to give us much to talk about, but the Flyers on Saturday, possibly the Sixers on Sunday, and that's what it should be. It should be one of those situations where you have a little bit of fun with the two teams, and possibly one of these ones, probably the Flyers more than the Sixers, give us a little deep run here. Can the Flyers make a deep run? I don't know. When you watch the game last night and they're down 2-0 against a very, very, very short-handed Carolina team, does it make you wonder how far they are from Carolina? The Michkov goal, by the way, that was the one. When they got that, it's 2-1. And the fact that they got the Zegras goal on the power play 3 minutes or so later, it was, they're going to win this game. The Michkov goal was the one that kind of finally stabilized that game And then the Zegras power play goal, the way he just had an unbelievable amount of confidence when he let that thing go. You're like, they're going to win this game. This is unbelievable. And, man, I'll tell you what. When you look back at the last couple of weeks, I'm going to go back to the Dallas game. I thought that Dallas game was the one that really changed the complexion of this whole thing in your head, that they can do this. They're going to be able to get this done. They won that Dallas game 2-1 in overtime, and I know they lost the next two games, but they had to beat someone along the way that you really didn't think that they were going to beat, and they beat that Dallas team 2-1 in a shootout. And when you look back at the points, they needed 2 extra points, and they get the one. They got the one for getting to the shootout, but beating Dallas, a team with 110 points, a team that is a Stanley Cup championship-level team, to win that game against Dallas was the one, I think anyway. Maybe people disagree, but I thought that Dallas win, that was the one that made you start to think, maybe they can do this. And I know they lost. Again, they lost the next two games, Washington and Detroit, which were deflating. But when you look back and say there were 2 points that you didn't think you were going to get, and you ended up getting them, it was Sunday, March 29th, when they beat the Dallas Stars 2-1. That was the one for me. I know a lot of people go back to that West Coast trip right out of the break. They beat Anaheim, L.A., and San Jose. That started it, but they needed something else to kind of jump off, like get them on the right path. That's where I thought. March 29th against the Dallas Stars. What was it for you that kind of put you on board with where this team, you felt like they're going to do this? They're going to do this. The Winnipeg game, Saturday, 7-1, that wasn't the one for me because, quite frankly, it felt like the letdown game was coming. And then it's 2-0, and you felt the letdown's here. And you're going to have to win against Montreal, which, by the way, tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Josh, that was the game for me. The Dallas game on Sunday was an afternoon game. And when they won that game, I said, those are the 2 points that might be the 2 points that they need. They got to get 2 points somewhere. I mean, all the rest of their games were all games against teams that were neck and neck with you. Islanders, Boston, Jersey. They were all against teams that were just battling in the same ball of yarn. You had to get a win against somebody you didn't think you were going to beat, and that was the one for me. So I thought last night, I mean, listen, I know there are people that watch all 82 games. I'm sure there are people out there that watch way more. But the last 2 months, really from I'd always say right around February is when I'll start to check in a lot more, right? I can't watch a lot early. You're watching football. You're watching the baseball playoffs. All that stuff's happening. Right around after the Super Bowl is when you start, you're checking in. You go back to after the Super Bowl, right when that break started is kind of right after the Olympics is when you started to pick up. It's when they started to play a heck of a lot better. But you didn't really, for me anyway, I didn't really think that this team was going to be able to mathematically make it happen unless they won a game. It was that Dallas game for me.
For me, Mike, the first time for me, I got to go back to February 28th. When they won that game against Boston, a game that I think a lot of people thought they were going to lose. That was the first time I felt like there might be a hope. There might be a chance. Because coming out of the break, we were all hockeyed up, right? You know, Team USA, they win the gold. You got all this hockey energy going around. And then it's like, and you're playing Boston, one of the better teams in the league. And you're supposed to lose to Boston.
Yep.
And then you beat them. And you beat them 3-1. And I remember sitting there watching that game on Saturday afternoon after my show was done on Saturday. The Flyers came on right after my show was done on 97.3 ESPN. And I kept looking at the team like, they're going to win this game. They're going blow for blow with the team that's supposed to beat them. And that was the first moment I thought, there might be a chance. There might be a hope that we could have something special here. And by the way, for those who don't know, for the last 2 months, the Flyers are among the best in the NHL in terms of wins and losses, points, goals against. Like they have been among the best in the league the last 2 months.
Well, they're going to need to be extra special if they want to make a deep playoff run. They played Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh beat them twice this year. They were 2-0-2 or 2-2-0 against Pittsburgh. 2 losses for the Flyers. So we'll take a look at that matchup a little bit later on. Durso will join us. And just how deep of a run can this team make? I see the White Horse RV text board is already lighting up. 609-403-0973. I do think that when you look at the difference between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, it's young versus old. This is the grizzled veterans against this young new bunch. It's going to be a fun one. We talked a lot about this between our group of hosts and stuff here. We had said, who is in a better position, the Flyers or the Sixers? Because at the time, nobody thought that the Flyers were going to make the playoffs. And nobody believed that the Sixers were going to do anything in the playoffs, even though they were going to make them. And I have been pretty steadfast on the fact that it was going to be the Sixers, that they had more because they have Maxey and they have Edgecombe. They have 2 young players that you can say, we have these guys, we can build with them, and we have something.
And I was the one guy who kept saying the Flyers.
Well, and Schwein, too, and some other people said, no, it's the Flyers. So we had debates on which one. And I have to say, the Flyers have taken over that mantle because of the whole fact that all of a sudden you get Martone. At the time when we had this discussion, you didn't even know what Martone was going to do. You certainly didn't think he was going to play this year.
Nobody knew he was coming.
Right. Michkov, who quite frankly, had a disappointing year.
But he's really picked up the last 6 games.
He has. But when we first started this discussion, I said, the one guy you think you're excited about is Michkov, and he's not even having a good year. So it looked like it was clearly you have Maxey and Edgecombe against the Flyers, it seemed like they were in no man's land with a bunch of guys who were just good, not great players. And that might turn out to be the case. But if you're having that discussion now, I got to say, the people that were on the Flyers side, you right now are right. The Flyers seemingly have more promise than the Sixers do.
And for me, part of the reason why they have promise, I always argued, Mike, was for me because they have salary cap opening up. It's not just this year and it's done. They are going to have opportunities to add to this team in the next few years.
Well, it's one of the things I criticized Briere for. During the trade deadline, he said, we're not worried about this year's team. We're worried. And I said, if you're a player on that team and you hear that, how do you take that? Like that, you're saying, look, what more do we need to do for you to invest in us? And maybe they bound together and said, screw you. We're going to show you that we are good enough. I don't know.
I mean, again, I think that the whole when you brought that up before back in January, I always felt like it was either late January or late February when it happened. I just felt like that was just Briere being honest. That they didn't.
I didn't question.
I didn't look at it as the players were going to be like, why don't you support us? Because at the end of the day, I think the players understood that they had a horrible month of January.
I'm not saying he wasn't being honest. My point was, I'm faulting him for being honest, for coming right out and saying, we don't care about this team. We're more worried about the team next year. If you're on the team, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear them say, my team doesn't matter. What more do we need to do to make our team matter is what I want to know. So I didn't question whether he was being honest or not. I'm saying he shouldn't have been honest. He shouldn't have been honest. But guess what? The team, for whatever reason, took that and ran with it, and good for them. Text board is open, 609-403-0973.
People are saying your mic's echoing.
I will read a couple of the text messages here. Let's see. Mike, I was at the game in 2010 and was nuts. Last night's game plus shootout, awesome stuff, Bill, in Ocean City. I mean, I wasn't at the game in 2010, but I heard last night that from people I know that were there that the building was as loud as they had ever heard it. And I know when you're in there, it's easy just to say it's really loud. I'm not going to compare who's louder. I'm pretty positive that it was loud as hell last night inside there. Paul from Millville on the White Horse RV text board. Mike, I am pumped up. I am a man who will admit when I was wrong. He says, I've been saying all season that Briere was a joke as a GM and Tocchet was a terrible hire. I am glad that I was wrong. I was at Citizens Bank Park last night, and I will say the atmosphere in the sports complex was electric. The Bats came alive, and the Flyers came all the way back to secure a date with the Penguins. What a night in South Philly last night. Paul, a couple things. One, you're right. I said the same thing. I'll admit, I said I thought the Sixers had a more promise than the Flyers, and right now it looks like I'm wrong about that. I also did not like what Briere said about not helping this team. Well, guess what? He proved me to be wrong there. Tocchet, I was kind of indifferent on. He was a guy I was willing to give a shot. The one thing about Tocchet that I was, a little, I guess, trepidatious about is you hired a guy that was a Flyer. You always go down that road. But I wasn't anti-Tocchet. Now, listen, there was a time, when was that, where people, there were people calling for Tocchet to be fired, that they were going to have a night at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, that they were going to yell "fire Tocchet" like at the drop of the puck. That was right around the Super Bowl.
Well, I mentioned earlier, so they had a horrible month of January. And I think that was part of the genesis of some of these.
I remember this because we were at the Super Bowl,
yeah,
and I was with Billy when this was happening. And I was telling them, this is, look what they're talking about. And they were mad about the way they were handling Michkov.
Right, because there was a whole situation with, well, it goes back to the whole, he came in the training camp, he wasn't in shape. Tocchet tried to, we basically work him into shape. He would bench him at times because he would get back on defense. And then there was a whole situation where they had the Flyers charity thing around the Super Bowl. And, basically, the Flyers came out, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they basically were saying that, the Michkov thing, you're all making a big deal about it. And then the fans were like, no, we're not making a big deal about it. You got to play this guy. And then Tocchet made the comment about, he didn't call him by his name. He called him that guy, him. Started doing that whole deal.
Well, and I remember that there was some online blog sites that were trying to put together a fire Tocchet chant, when the whole, it was crazy to think about how that wasn't that long ago. You're talking about the Super Bowl, that was. 609-403-0973. Hey, Mike, as a diehard Pens fan, Flyers truly make me nervous in this playoff run. They ended the regular season on a hell of a run. They definitely got momentum going into this. That's on the text board, on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Visit my friends at White Horse RV Center, Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts there at White Horse RV. Jeff says they had the win they had in Detroit 2 weeks ago is what sold him. I wasn't scared last night down 2-0. The Flyers seemed to be outplaying them, just had a bad bounce or two. So you're going back to the Detroit win at Detroit 2 weeks ago. They played Detroit 3 times in the last 3 weeks. They lost the 2 games.
So back in March 26th.
Yeah, they lost the 2 games in April. They won the game
March
in
28th.
March. 5-3. They won that game.
Ironically, they lost the 2 Detroit games after that.
Yeah, they played 3 times in the last 3 weeks of the season. They won the first one. They lost the last 2. Mike, I was at the Flyers game last night. It was a great game. Robbie and Little Egg Harbor. The one for me is the Dallas game, he says. They needed that game, and they got that game. Yeah, me and you were on the same page, Robbie, on that one. Now, I heard last night that the Phillies showed highlights of the Flyers game on the big screen, and one of the Phillies beat writers said, in 15 years of covering the team, he doesn't remember that ever happening.
Wow.
Glenn in Northfield says, I attended that Dallas game, one of the best games in the last 5 years. And then you have every player talk about the West Coast trip. I'm going tonight, and I can't wait for the playoffs. Hopefully the youngest team beats the oldest team. That's Glenn in Northfield. Going to the game tonight. They're playing Montreal. Anybody planning on going to Pittsburgh?
Good question. It's not a long trip.
Not a long trip. It's about a 7-hour drive to Pittsburgh. I don't know when the games are going to be. I think they said the schedule's going to come out on Thursday.
Correct.
So you're going to have to make a quick decision on that. If I said you could go to the game Saturday, you got to decide Thursday. Do you drive out Friday, or do you go drive out Saturday, go to the game Saturday? I'm imagining now it could be a Saturday afternoon game, although I got to think Philly-Pittsburgh is an 8 o'clock Saturday night game. That's my guess.
You think so?
Yeah. I think Philly-Pittsburgh, although it's a Saturday, so what? Yeah, I'm going to go Saturday night, 8 o'clock is going to be my guess there.
I think that's fair.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. We got so much happening. I can't wait to get this weekend going now. Sixers tomorrow night, they take on the Magic. Phillies Mailbag, Frank Klose answers your questions. By the way, the Cubs have announced they are going to start an opener today, a left-handed opener. Riley Martin will get the start instead of Colin Ray. Now, you know what I'm going to do all day today. I'm going to say Ray's name 50 times.
Naturally.
But Ray was supposed to be the starter because we kept saying Imanaga's pitching tomorrow is the only lefty that they have seen in quite some time.
Right.
Phillies lineup is not out yet, but I did hear last night that Rob Thompson said that Edmundo Sosa will probably be in the lineup today.
Yeah,
I would
Mundito.
imagine that. Yeah. Mundito, yes, that is what Oscar refers to Edmundo Sosa as. Mundito Sosa. Edmundo, little Edmundo. All right, Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we have multiple chances for you today to enter to win that club box seats, pair of tickets to see the Eagles play at a home game this year at Lincoln Financial Field. That's coming up this hour. Also, Phillies Fastball at 3 o'clock. Former Philly Dave Gallagher joins me on the show tonight at 5 o'clock. Dave Gallagher's back. I wanted to get like a 15-game sample size for Dave to kind of consume and then get his perspective as a former player on what he's seeing from these at-bats and some of these players. This hour of the Sports Bash, it's brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Listen, when you get an injury, work, car accident, slip and fall, whatever it might be, wherever you get your injury, you need the best on your side. You need to call my friends, the law offices of Craig A. Altman. They take on the tough cases because they have tough lawyers. Who's on your side when you're dealing with the insurance companies? You need the law offices of Craig A. Altman, 856-327-8899, or visit CraigAltmanLaw.com. Offices in Vineland, backed by a Philly law firm that knows how to win.
Phillies scored in 6 different innings last night. Take that. Their offense isn't consistent crowd. What can they do tonight? We'll see. Frank Klose answers your Phillies mailbag questions. If you have a Frank Klose Phillies mailbag question, send it in now on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. See if we answer your question next. All right, welcome back. Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN Phils. As we talked about, big win last night. They score in pretty much every inning. So it's either we score in one inning or every inning, it feels like, right? We'll get into the Phillies mailbag. Frank Klose, this hour of the show is brought to you by the law office of Craig A. Altman, proud sponsors of Philadelphia sports coverage in South Jersey on 97.3 ESPN. Frank Klose covers the Phils. His Phillies mailbag is up at 97.3ESPN.com. Couple things on the Phils. They win last night 13-7. Got a little hairy at the end of that game. We'll dive into some Phils right now on the Sports Bash. So, Frank, it's either you score in one run or you score in multiple innings last night. That was a little bit more indicative. And I thought what was impressive about that game was, you got a couple long balls. I think the Schwarber home run, but it was more manufactured offense. We don't see that a lot from the Phils.
Yeah, that's a very important thing for this Phillies lineup. When they're just living and dying by the home run, it seems like it's all or nothing. And so haven't been many home runs the last few days, one here or there, but without runners on base, without people driving them in, that's not sustainable. So it indeed was very nice to see them actually stringing together several hits. Kind of interesting that Justin Crawford, who had been perhaps our most consistent hitter to the point, was the only one that went 0 for the day. He ended up going 0 for 5. So, but you need that. You need people to pick each other up. And I almost wonder, Mike, if they've sort of let it get into their heads a little bit, hearing some of the post-game comments. So hopefully for their sake, this is a little bit of a relief and they can relax and go about their business.
Yeah, and obviously, as we mentioned, they scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 5 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. So they put up a bunch of crooked numbers last night after scoring 3 innings in 27 innings over the weekend. Big night for Schwarber. Garcia in the 4-hole last night had a couple hits. Marsh 3 for 4. Real Muto 3 hits at the bottom of the lineup last night as well. So the Phillies offense up and down. And as you mentioned, the one guy who has been hitting, Crawford, was the only guy who did not hit last night. Let's dive into some mailbag questions here. You can send your mailbag questions to Frank Klose at Frank Klose with a K, Klose, for our Phillies mailbag segments each and every Tuesday. Let's go to Angela. Seth Johnson's getting ripped. He was the one guy last night. He came in. Don't the Phillies have anything better than Seth Johnson? Guy couldn't even get outs with a 10-run lead. That's what Angela wants to know. Now, Johnson's interesting. He was a big part of a trade with Baltimore a couple of years ago. Came over here. He's been closing at AAA, and now he gets put in mop-up duty. Not really his role.
Yeah, this is just a temporary solution. So Jonathan Bolin ends up going on the 15-day injured list with a mild groin strain, and really, when that happens, you need somebody to plug in for just a little bit. You go to whoever's on your 40-man roster, and besides that, who else is fresh? Who else just didn't pitch? So I think at that point in the game, you might have gone Zach Pop, but if he, of course, just had pitched a couple innings as that surprise opener on Sunday. So Seth Johnson was the one, and they had to put him right to work. And as you said, that's a little bit of mop-up duty. I mean, he comes into the game with a 12-2 lead after Christopher Sanchez threw 6 stellar innings, and no reason to push Christopher Sanchez with such a lead. And so, hey, they went to the freshest arm, and of course he ended up giving up 5 runs. 3 of them were earned. You never really thought like it was going to get away, but it just seemed to just keep piling on. And of course, Orion Kerkering gets the final 4 outs. But, hey, when you're on the 40-man roster, you might be the Band-Aid. I mean, that's kind of what happens there. Now, if the Phillies need somebody else because they perhaps tax the bullpen some more, they can swap them out for a few other guys. Among those that are on the 40-man include Nolan Hoffman, if you remember him. But Kyle Backus, who just got sent down. And by the way, he looked really good last night. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts down to AAA Lehigh Valley. Or Alan Ronhell, who's a starter, you can plug in there. And, I think we're seeing, until Zach Wheeler gets back, they don't have that long man in the bullpen. And with what went down on Sunday, where they didn't know how they were going to get through the whole game, had not Andrew Painter been able to jump in after a couple innings late, a little late for work on Sunday. But luckily, he gave them those 5 innings. And once Zach Wheeler comes back, then Taijuan Walker's your long man again, and it'll be a lot smoother at that point.
Well, yeah, and by the way, Sanchez, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks last night. I don't know if it was the best version of Sanchez in the game last night. He gave up the home run to Swanson in the 4th there. Frank, let's go to Dave's question. I think this is more than just Dave's question. This is a lot of people's question. What's the latest on Zach Wheeler? How long until Zach Wheeler's back?
So it sounds like the latest plan is he's going to pitch tonight for Double-A Reading. They begin a series in Somerset, New Jersey against the Patriots. And so he's going to start tonight. And then because in the minor leagues they do those 6-game series, one a week with Mondays off, well, his start after that will be, again, with Reading against the Somerset Patriots. And so that'll give him 2 more starts. And kind of the thought is that after that, if anything unforeseen unless something unforeseen takes place, the weekend of the 24th to 26th of April, he could join the Phillies in Atlanta and make his first start of the season there. Now, Zach Wheeler is still ramping up his pitch count, and we might not think of him this way because we're in the Major League season, but he's essentially at where somebody on their after 3 starts would be at spring training. So he's still amping up his arm, still getting his velocity going, still stretching him out some. But, he's coming back from that thoracic outlet syndrome, and but the Phillies assigned him to a 30-day rehab assignment. That's all you get is 30 days. So he began that on March 28th, and those days will run out soon. So the Phillies need to bring him up soon thereafter. They might be able to squeeze one more start in before that clock runs out, but it seems like he is going to be back with the Phillies, not this weekend, but perhaps the following weekend when the Phillies go to Atlanta. Now, there were a couple questions about his velocity being down to this point, but it's true of a lot of pitchers in spring training as you're ramping up for the season. You don't always come to camp with your best velocity. So I think we need to think of this in that perspective before you get worried a little bit about his velocity. So hopefully with the consistency and stretching himself out, he's going to go to about 80 to 85 pitches tonight. And then perhaps a little bit deeper after that on Sunday, they'll be able to have a better gauge on where he's at in terms of velocity. But I bet you if even if he's still a tick behind, he still might come up in Philly because he's Zach Wheeler and he's a gamer, and I expect him to see him in Atlanta next weekend.
Yeah, and Rob Thompson considering the rotation for the Braves series of Walker, Sanchez, and Painter. I guess to get Painter a couple extra days, keep Sanchez on normal rest there. That means you're going to get Walker against the Braves in a pretty big game.
You could, but I think it's also important that Walker starts in before Wheeler comes back, so it's not necessarily a 6-man rotation. But once Wheeler enters, if it's shortly after a Walker start, that'll help stretch them out a little bit more. So I think that is important with Painter as well. Doesn't seem like the migraine was anything too bad if he was able to come in and pitch as he did. But we're probably looking at his number of pitches or innings for the season as a whole. So not a bad idea to sort of slide them back if you have that opportunity.
All right, Greg, we talked about it kind of in the beginning here. He wants to know what to do about the inconsistent offense. Greg, you, Topper, Dombrowski, and everybody else want to know what to do about this offense.
Well, I'll tell you this. One thing I personally didn't like was them just stacking all the lefties in a row against the Diamondbacks. I guess that was their method. It did pay off, I guess, at the beginning of the one game where you saw them
in one inning of every game.
Yeah. They strung together those, they had four runs in before anybody got out. But then they went quiet for the remaining 27 outs. But for me, I think that you need to not tinker so much. Maybe you make some adjustments. I do think Garcia
is probably the only team in the league that has no lefty in the bullpen, I imagine. Yeah.
So unless an injury might pop up where you find yourself in that situation. I guess the Phillies thought that they would take advantage of it, but I think the Phillies need to be a little bit more consistent here, help some guys find their groove. I think Garcia probably will stick around in the cleanup spot for a while. I mean, I was surprised personally that they didn't try that yet, and yet being even in spring training to sort of see, how he and Bohm would fare in those spots, and of course. Bohm struggling this season in the early going. And, hey, Garcia went 0 for the Diamondback series too, as luck would have it, I guess, against all those righties. But, I think you want to let them settle into some consistency for a few days. But But you saw it against the Cubs last night. I mean, Javier Assad isn't a terrible pitcher. They were able to string some hits together against him. And so it's nice. You're showing some signs of life. Hopefully this gives them the confidence to move forward and to not feel like they have to hit a 5-run home run every time they come up to the plate with one person on. I mean, Kyle Schwarber even alluded to that after the game a little bit, that perhaps they were pressing a little bit at times. So it's an interesting bunch. As we say, they've run this lineup back for the most part, but we see this time and time again. They go through these down spots, and you really do have a little bit concerned because you never know when that offense is going to go off. But the big concern to me will be what happens in the playoffs. So I think we do want to see at the trade deadline the Phillies pick up somebody that can add a little bit more consistency to that lineup, especially from the right side.
Well, and Frank, I think if you mentioned a lineup, they're constantly 2 bats short is the problem here, right? I mean, they don't have a 4-hitter, they don't have a 5-hitter. So anybody you put in the 4 and 5 spots, you're going to not like that selection. And anybody you move there instead, you're going to say, well, I don't like that guy either. So right now, Garcia's that guy. It was Bohm. I'm sure Real Muto might get a shot in the 4-hole. He's starting to hit a little bit better. But I would imagine, the one big thing was Bryson Stott was in that 5 spot. It was pretty imperative to get him out. They put Marsh there. The one thing is, when they face a lefty tomorrow, Imanaga's going to throw tomorrow. Now you got to change the lineup again because you're going to have most likely Kemp. I think Sosa's going to play today. Rob Thompson said last night. So he'll play today for Bohm. But you are probably going to see this lineup tinker and change. It'll be evolving probably at least the first half of this year, I would imagine.
Yeah, for me, if I could talk about Brandon Marsh for a second, that platoon that they have in left field. I mean, Otto Kemp, not a defender at that position yet. He has not learned left field yet. And as to your point, you made a lot during spring. Why isn't he playing more left field? Well, I think we're seeing now that he probably should have played more left field in the spring. But
that bothers me more than anything, Frank.
Yes.
That bothers me more than anything is a guy is going to play predominantly a new position. He should play as many innings as possible during meaningless games to learn how to play that position. And quite frankly, it goes to say, how many innings is he going to play third base or first base during the regular season? Very few. And he can do that on a side field to get ready for that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But so at this point, with the situation they're in with that in mind, I mean, I think Brandon Marsh, as great as he's been against righties, I think you need to play him against some lefties and see what he's got. They did let him bat in a couple key situations recently against lefties. He's hitting .250 against lefties. I know that's a small sample size so far, but I think Brandon Marsh is a key to a lot of this because if he's just going to play against right-handed pitching, he almost has to play so well that it justifies the Kemp days in left field and justifies Kemp not hitting as well.
Let me ask you this real fast. Would you consider Brian De La Cruz, is he a better option as a right-handed bat than Kemp is?
I don't know. I'm not willing to say yes yet. I mean, it's still a small sample size for Kemp, but I think that you get into May, I think that they need to start thinking about that. De La Cruz does have some power. And unfortunately, a lot of his power comes against right-handed pitching, not left-handed pitching, De La Cruz. But
gotcha.
But yeah, I would say
no question. And,
yeah.
This goes back to what we talked about. Kemp could kind of be the Dylan Moore. He could play third one day. He could play first one day. Quite frankly, if you need someone to play second or short, you've got Sosa already. Dylan Moore never needs to play second base, so he is a useless commodity on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get the thought process to have a Dylan Moore in the team, and it's basically that early on, as players are ramping up, he can kind of be thrown in anywhere. I mean, Moore can play second base just fine. I mean, last year Kemp even played some second base, and
right,
I wouldn't
you don't need
recommend
Dylan Moore
it,
to play second base. If you need a right-handed second baseman, you got Sosa.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And if you would say, well, Sosa needs to play third. Kemp can play third. I don't need Dylan Moore to play second or third. I've got Sosa to play second, and I have Kemp that can play third.
But here's the problem. As long as they're platooning Sosa and Stott at second base, you get a situation where if you flip that platoon during the game, then you have nobody on the bench to come in and play.
Well, that's where you would have De La Cruz would be the platoon with Marsh. You would have Kemp that would be the extra guy.
Right.
He would be the Dylan Moore.
Right, but then once you've already flipped the platoons, then you're left with needing somebody that you can plug anywhere in case of injury. So that's where it gets a little tricky. So I don't love the roster construction for that reason. I think one platoon works, but once you get into two platoons, it makes it a little bit too hard. And then you find yourself making those decisions. I mean, I personally think that Kemp is better as a bench bat with some pop too, because you're not going to get that from Moore.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, as you said, if you were in a complete pickle in that situation, Kemp can probably go play second base for a handful of innings, and then you make a change. But Kemp should be the super utility right-handed bat guy. De La Cruz maybe is the bat and plays right-handed left field. He's a better outfielder, probably provides similar bat than Kemp. Maybe Kemp's bat's a little better. Who knows? But they got bigger problems than Kemp versus De La Cruz and Moore right now. They got to get consistent offensively. We saw it last night. The Phillies win 13-7, and they're getting ready for tonight. Aaron Nola goes for the Phils, and Colin Ray goes for the Chicago Cubs. Phils and Cubs, we'll talk more about it throughout the day. Frank Klose's Phillies Mailbag is up at 97.3 ESPN.com every Tuesday right here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Frank's back next week, and, of course, the Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
I've always wanted to learn French, but the app I tried didn't help.
If you want to memorize words in another language, there's an app for that. But if you want to really learn another language, there's Babbel. Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different. Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Babbel feels like it was created intentionally by people who really know what you need to learn another language. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Want to really learn another language? Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com to save up to 50%. Babbel.com.
All right, 252. Thanks to Frank, the Phillies Mailbag. Each and every Tuesday, we'll keep the Phillies rolling with the Fastball segment. Coming up in the next hour, Oscar and Jeff will join me. We told you Riley Martin, he's going to be the opener today. So they're really starting Martin for the first inning so that the two lefties, I guess, Harper and Schwarber have to face a lefty at least one time. The Phillies have just announced that pitcher Seth Johnson has been sent to AAA. So we talk about him in the mailbag. Phillies say, those guys are ripping Johnson. Let's get Chase Sugart up here. Chase Sugart has made 5 appearances for Lehigh, 1.80 ERA, 6 strikeouts, no walks. Johnson pitched last night. It didn't go well for Chase Johnson. He's a guy they got. People thought he could have been like a starter. He hasn't really materialized there, so they're now making him a closer at the AAA level. And I don't know that he'll ever help this team out. They got him in a trade for, I think it was like Soto or one of the guys they sent to Baltimore. Remember they made 2 trades with Baltimore? Soto got sent to Baltimore, and then the Austin Hayes trade. No, Dominguez, Sirianni Dominguez. It was one of those trades. They got Seth Johnson. Everyone's like, oh, you got Seth Johnson back. What a great pickup. Yeah, he stinks. Phillies Fastball on the other side. Also coming up later on, Dave Gallagher, former Philly, will talk some Phillies with us. I want to get Dave's perspective now that we got about 15 games in. What he likes, what's changed, what he sees, and also Kevin Durso on the Flyers. Big picture perspectives. How far can this team go? And the matchup with Pittsburgh. What does he think about that? They do play Montreal tonight in a game that really has zero meaning because the Flyers cannot change. They are locked into their seed against Pittsburgh. So that will be the matchup regardless if the Flyers win or lose tonight. Coming up, we've got so much more to go, including multiple chances today for you to enter for this year's draft show. We're going to be live at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And caller 6 and caller 7 right now, you'll be there. Caller 6 and caller 7, 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776, caller 6 and caller 7. You are entered for this year's draft day party at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. April 23rd, you must be present to win. We got great prizes this year, so if you're not there, shame on you. This year I got a pair of tickets, club box seats to see the Eagles play a home game at Lincoln Financial Field. I got an overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort that comes with a $150 gift card. I got more gift cards. I got concert tickets. I got comedy shows. So come on out. Caller 6 and caller 7. You must be present, and we'll see you there. Good luck.
Take the winning drive to RK Kia of Vineland, where you get RK coverage. No charge. RK does it right. RK Kia of Vineland. MyRKKia.com.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
April is the month to save at Bennett Chevrolet, because we've got an offer you won't, no, you can't find anywhere else. Get here now and save up to 20% on new Chevys. Yes, Bennett Chevy is selling new Chevys at GM supplier employee prices. And you keep all the rebates, saving you up to 20%. Ask yourself, where can you save more than 20% on a new vehicle? You know the answer, nowhere but Bennett Chevrolet. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will give you a minimum $10,000 for your trade. And we don't care if it runs. Just get it here and get a minimum 10 grand for your junk. Just imagine how much more we'll pay if you've got a quality trade. And you never get haggled or hassled or need to negotiate at Bennett Chevy, because our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You know the rush when you reach that goal, when something you've worked for pays off. That's success. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we believe you should never stop chasing it. That's why we offer a skills-based education that helps move your career forward. Learn how to apply emerging technologies like AI and data science. Build your leadership and critical thinking skills. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start May 13th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Hour 2 of the show. Phillies Fastball in just a moment. Want to congratulate our latest qualifiers. We just qualified 2 more listeners for this year's draft party. Anthony in Summers Point, Mike in Ocean City. Mike, we'll see you guys at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City for this year's Eagles draft party. Maybe one of you guys will win a pair of tickets to go see the Eagles play a home game this year at Lincoln Financial Field. The Cubs have changed their starting pitcher. Riley Martin will start for Colin Ray. Chase Sugart was recalled by Philadelphia to make room on the 26-man roster. Seth Johnson has been sent back to AAA, so there's a couple of little quirks and changes. Phillies lineup is out. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Garcia, Marsh, Realmuto, Stott, Sosa is at third tonight, and Crawford. So as I talked about earlier, Realmuto moving up the lineup. We'll get into him in our Phillies Fastball segment with my guys Oscar and Jeff. They are back. Phillies put up a bunch of crooked numbers last night. Let's start with what stood out the most in the box score from you guys last night. Jeff Kerr, let's start with you.
You know what? Adolis Garcia batting cleanup. And, we knew this was coming. I kind of was leaked out on Saturday that he was a strong candidate to be the number 4 hitter. I'm like, well, no, he's the number 4 hitter and Marsh is number 5. So I'll go with both these guys here. Adolis Garcia, 2 for 4, 2 runs scored. Big night batting cleanup. You look bad in the one at bat. That's okay. I think the Phillies will live with that. Brandon Marsh started in left field, ended up in right just because, they wanted to get some guys some at bats. But 3 hits tonight, or last night, 304 now. He's the number 5 hitter. And as Oscar showed us before the show started, it just looks that much better when you're doing the graph with the statistics. Adolis Garcia 4th, Brandon Marsh 5th. And look, the top of the lineup produced, and so did the middle of the lineup. It just looked like a complete effort last night.
Yeah, Oscar has the slide, so the people that are watching on all the different social media platforms can see all the pretty slides and all the different colors. And Oscar, the middle of the lineup was what stood out to Jeff. How about you last night?
8 for 14 with runners in scoring position. That says it all. We remember we were 3 for 18 in San Francisco, or 1 for 6. Not getting enough runners on base, 15 hits. And look, to me, the kind of the spark of this team is called Kyle Schwarber. When Kyle Schwarber hits, this team somehow he brings everyone together to start playing more as a team. I don't have the stats here, but I bet you when Schwarber hits a home run, we win 80% of the games because the guy is like special, and he hit 2 home runs yesterday. But to me, the key stat here is 8 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and you saw it. It was contagious. Everybody started kind of supporting each other, and this is the fighting fields that we're accustomed to seeing. And when the engine goes like that, and you have Christopher Sanchez on the other end doing his part with 8 strikeouts in 6 innings, you're going to win 99% of the games.
Yeah, and obviously they had a lot more balance last night, which allowed them to score 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 5 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, and 1 in the 7th last night. I think your Schwarber point is a good one because what I liked about last night, guys, is, yes, Schwarber hit 2 home runs, but correct me if I'm wrong, they're the only home runs they had last night, and they were able to score 13 runs. They had an inning where they had 6 hits in a row. They manufactured. They hit singles. They went station to station. That's the kind of games that you don't see a whole heck of a lot from this team, is the manufacturing, stringing hits together, and not relying on the home run. Oddly enough, guys, The one guy who didn't get a hit was the only guy who's been hitting all year is Crawford. He went 0 for 5 last night. So I like the manufacturing and the stringing together of runs last night. Now, the question is, can they keep that going? Can they be that kind of team that hits a single, moves a guy over, hits a double, hits a single? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah. Good.
I'll just say this, too. We've been talking about the bottom of the lineup a lot this year. I think the Phillies will gladly take 263 and 773 from their catcher. Don't you, Oscar?
I mean, every day of the week. I mean, and Solecki had a very nice stat there. We have scored in 6 out of the last, I think, 62 innings. Six innings. I mean, it's 10% of the innings. I mean, there's no way you could manufacture runs the way you did it. I mean, and you scored in 6 out of the 8 innings yesterday. So the bigger question, I mean, as you said, Mike, can they keep it up? And that's, I mean, Topper said it last night. This is a game where you got to go and show tomorrow that you can continue to do it. We need more consistency in this lineup, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform tonight after yesterday. I hope they left some runs in those bats.
Now, one change we think will be coming to the lineup, they hinted at it last night, is Sosa for Bohm. Bohm did have a single, 2 RBIs. He was part of that big 5-run 5th inning. So is this the right time? He finally got a hit yesterday and got a little confidence. Is this the right move to insert Sosa? I know, Oscar, yesterday on Phillies Fastball, Geoff, you echoed it. You would like to see Sosa in the lineup. Bohm finally gets a hit, and it looks like they're going to have him sit today.
I think it's Bohm. Bohm will be sitting today. I was getting messages yesterday from my friends in Panama, sending me messages saying, what are we waiting for Mundito to start playing? And I think is the right time, to be honest with you. I do believe this guy brings a level of energy, and you need to get him going because he's like the 6th man in basketball. I mean, he's the 10th guy coming out of that dugout. I mean, he's a key component for this season for the Phillies to be able to win, and we need it. We need him in the lineup.
By the way, Bohm just 1 for 11 against Colin Ray, who goes today for the Cubs. Sosa's 1 for 4. The big one is Real Muto, 5 for 11. And, Geoff, you mentioned him. Real Muto's starting to come around. I'll give him some credit. We a lot kind of got on him and wondering if his offense would be there. He had 3 ribbies. He had 3 hits. And you wonder if him and Bohm are going to be flip-flopping in the lineup sooner or later.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too, Mike. And look, when Bohm was came out as the 6th hitter yesterday, I wasn't surprised. I think they like JT 8th. I think they want to take the pressure off JT. But if you want to make another subtle change, that might be one to make. But I kind of like what they're doing right now. It's okay. Garcia's going to be the 4 hitter. We know he has the experience in doing that. Is it all gravy? No, it's not. But it puts Brandon Marsh at 5th. I thought Bryson Stott looked more comfortable at 7th last night. His at-bats have been better over the last couple days. Yeah. I like JT in 8th. And look, I like Crawford. And like we can say what we want about this lineup, and we talked about it, but this just feels like the optimal lineup for the 9 guys that you're playing.
Oscar, the one spot where they're a little light is in the 4th spot, and Garcia had 2 hits last night. If Garcia can perform – now the lineup, I mean, I've always said, Bohm, if you're hitting him 6th or 7th, he's probably productive. If he's in the 4-hole, he's not an optimal 4-hole. You look at the Phillies hitting numbers up there. Garcia in the 4-hole, if he can kind of hit for power, show that he's a presence, that changes a lot of stuff for this team. So right now, Garcia is a pretty big linchpin.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even more than Garcia, and you cannot put him 4th, is March, right? March is beginning, I mean, 304 right now, his batting average. He's at 815 OPS. March is a big component of this. When March, I mean, in addition to Schwarber, I would tell you, and I know Harper is there and all that, but March, if March hits, what happens, it changes the phases of this entire lineup because you have 2 hitters, the number 2 hitter and the number 5 hitter now kind of delivering, and then everyone will come around that. You need that run producer. And look, March is up to 11. The number 1 RBI guy on this team is Schwarber with 12, followed by March with 11th, Harper with 10, and Alec Bohm with 10. So March is a key component to this equation, and hopefully Garcia elevates his game by being in the 4th hitter on this team. I just want to warn everybody: he's going to strike out a lot. He's going to chase a lot, but the guy's a big-time hitter, and he has a lot more power than what Castellanos has.
Yeah, 18 strikeouts for Garcia right now, 24 for Schwarber. They're the top two. Turner with 15. That's a high number for him. And then Marsh has 14. The big thing, Jeff, is we know Marsh hits fifth, but he's not going to be in the lineup every single day. I guess one question would be, early in the season here, do you guys want to see Marsh get a shot again against lefties?
I think we know the sample size. It's the same song and dance. I think Brandon Marshing against righties is probably the best. I think every once in a while he'll get a shot, but look, you got to give Otto Kemp at bats too at some point. Like, you have to see what this guy has. Now, do I want Otto Kemp hitting fifth when they face a lefty? No, I don't. I just don't know who they go with in that situation. Like, say Marsh hits fifth. Okay. Now what? When you take him out, who's it going to be? Do you put JT fifth? Do you put Alec Boehm fifth? Now, right. I think Mundita would be the five hitter. I think that's the optimal five hitter against lefties. But then you got to reshuffle the bottom of the lineup when you're facing a lefty. But they will be doing that tonight, at least for the opener. But they're going to go to that's just for an inning or two.
And this is an interesting question. Like, everybody's like, they got to go get that right-handed bat. They've been lacking it. The one issue is they like Marsh so much against righties that it's hard to bring in a guy that is productive enough. You're not going to play him every single day because you do like Marsh, and Marsh can play against right-handed pitching.
You got a guy,
the perfect type of guy that could platoon with Marsh in the outfield. That's a hard guy to find.
Yeah, you got a guy right now that's in Marsh that's hitting 300 over the last year. He's top 5 in batting average over the last year, and his OPS is around 850. You have to play this guy. So
here's the challenge. Here's the challenge with a pitching staff like the Cubs. They have 4 lefties. So what happens is, as soon as let's say Rea goes the first 5 innings or 4 innings. When March comes up, if there are men's on base, they're going to bring a lefty every time to March. So you're going to have to force Kemp into the lineup, and he's going to have to produce. And that is the bigger question. Can Kemp produce? Because he's going – I mean, you might let March hit a couple of times versus lefty or one time versus lefty, but that is going to be the challenge. That is the challenge with March in the lineup.
Yeah, and Kent's barely played. Like, we can judge him on what he has, but you got to look at the sample size too. You're going to need more than what – he's been getting.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Obviously, the offense got going last night, so you know what's on tap for today. Probably back to normal, right? You probably get shut down.
So what's the over-under, guys? So 1.5 runs? Is that what we're going to set it?
Well, listen, and this is one of those things where you score all those runs one night, and then it happened in Colorado. They scored 10 on a Friday. They scored 2 on a Saturday. So it would not be surprising. They're going to face a right-hander today in Colin Ray. And obviously, you want to see if this offense can go back-to-back days now with a little consistency. And by the way, hitting weather is starting right now, guys. Usually April, you get these cold games. You're going to get 80-degree weather. So I want to see this offense start to – compile those big innings, start to hit a little bit more early because the weather is turning out there all week long. It's supposed to be in the 80s here.
Yeah, so Rea is 1-2 with a 3.13 ERA in 6 starts against the Phillies. He's pitching 8 games, 6 starts, 37 innings, 36 hits. Look, they're gonna have to be patient, and they're gonna have to be able to hit this guy. Rea is a smart pitcher. He used to be in the Milwaukee system and then came to the Cubs, so it's not going to be that easy.
Yeah, and I know that tomorrow there's a lefty, so we'll see a little bit different lineup from the one today as well. So the Phillies, obviously, their offense got going last night. Guys, Oscar, I'll start with you on Christopher Sanchez last night. Some walks last night. He gave up the home run to Swanson, I think, hit the home run. Dansby Swanson hit that home run last night. What did you think of Sanchez last night?
I mean, Sanchez was good. I would say, was that the Sanchez that we know he's capable of pitching? He's still having some issues with his changeup he's not comfortable with it yet, as he's been in the past. But look, he did the job. I mean, I'll take this any day of the week. 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 3 bases on ball. I'll take it every day of the week. His ERA is at 2.01. Look, you cannot ask more from a guy. I mean, I know he can pitch better, but this is what you needed. You needed 6 innings with 2 runs, and you're done. I mean, it's all you need.
Yeah, you know what, Oscar? When he got out of that bases loaded jam, I think that changed the game around. I mean, that was masterful what he was able to do with
few
not
double
having
plays. I mean, it was good. It was good.
Yeah,
and look at the Cubs lineup: 4 for 16 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah,
so they had their
obviously,
chances.
guys. He didn't have his best stuff last night with the 3 walks. I mean, he didn't have his best command last night with the 3 walks, but he did have the 8 strikeouts, and he gave up the 1 home run. And obviously the team's cruising along. Seth Johnson came in and obviously struggled to make it kind of interesting there in the 8th inning. But, by the way, Johnson is up because Bolin is on the injured list with a groin injury there. That's why Seth Johnson was in the game last night. They went to Kerkering. And Kerkering, I thought, with the 3 strikeouts, did a good job of coming in and just kind of, throwing some water on that fire.
Yeah, he allowed the double last night, but look, he pitched well, and let's be real. When I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, why is he in? But then I realized they don't have any bodies. So they wanted to preserve that bullpen as much as they could, and he pitched back-to-back days on Friday and Saturday. Obviously, Sunday was off. It's like, okay, well, let's get him to finish out the game. Let's get him some work, some much-needed work. And now you got a full bullpen pretty much healthy for tomorrow.
There you go, guys. The Cubs today. Let's take a look at, the standings and take a look at what happened last night. You take a look at Philadelphia. They get to 8-8, and a lot of people in the panic button early with this team, right? Yesterday, everybody's like, you got to, we're looking at the Braves. They lost last night. Next thing you know, Phillies win. It's a 1.5 games between the Phillies and the Braves. And I think what's the interesting story with these standings is the nature of what this National League. I think, guys, I don't want to get your opinion on this. I think this is going to be a 4-team, maybe not for the division, but you're going to have 4 teams that are going to be much better than they were a year ago. Even the Nationals should be better than they were last year, which means you can't afford to struggle and think that you're going to be in that division race all year unless you win games that you have to win. When you have these lulls in the offense, you can't say, the Marlins are out of this thing. The Mets are kind of – I think 4 teams are going to give you problems in the East.
Yeah, none of these teams are pushover. None of these teams are pushovers, right? I mean, the Mets have lost 6 in a row. They look terrible. Their season looks like it's teetering, but it's April, right? I mean, we're not even at April 20th yet. But the Nationals are the one, I think their record's kind of deceiving because look at that ERA. 6.21. They can't get anybody out, but they're scoring because they got good players like James Wood and guys like that. They got guys who can produce, so you got to get them out.
For the first time this year, we're above 4 on the run scoring per game, so 4.1 in the green. You want to score more than 4 runs per game, and you want to allow less than 4 runs per game. So the best pitching staff in all of baseball right now are the Braves. They're at 286 and at 5.5 runs per game. I mean, that's where the differential is at plus 40. They lost yesterday, but to the Marlins. But they are that's a team. I do believe the Braves are healthy, particularly with their pitching. It's gonna be probably a 2-horse race, big time toward the end between the Braves. I do believe the Marlins are going to be there, the Mets are going to be there, but I do believe it's the Braves versus the Phillies at the end, battling it out to see who's going to win this division.
All right, let's take a look at the pitching for the Phillies. Obviously, we got some Zach Wheeler news. He will throw tonight for the Phillies. Now, he's going to be pitching for Reading for them, and obviously tonight it is Aaron Nola Day, guys, for the Phils. Nola, obviously, I think every time he pitches, it's going to be a very interesting, like normal, it's a Nola Day, but last year it feels like every time he pitched, you thought the worst was going to happen. What kind of consistency can they get from Nola? He still slides into that number 2 spot behind Sanchez. Nola today and Luzardo tomorrow. Kind of 2 interesting starts. Luzardo coming off that 1 bad inning, and Nola's very similar where he was cruising along and then gave up the home run to Devers.
Yeah, Nola's problem has always been he gives up home runs. That's just the reality of it. But if you want to look at the totality of the starting pitching staff, he's been their second best pitcher this year.
I agree.
And I love what Aaron Nola's bringing them. If they're not 8-8 without Aaron Nola, let's just be realistic here. And there was a game he got run support. There was a game he got no run support. Normally he never gets any run support. So I would like to see what Aaron Nola can do tonight and see if the Phillies can kind of get back on track here, because I think winning this Cubs series would be huge. I know we keep talking about the 6 games against the Braves coming up, but you got to beat this Cubs team too. I mean, they might be the best team in the NL Central this year. I know it's early.
Nola has had a great history against the Cubs. He's 7-2. I mean, his ERA is not that great. It's 4.19, but he's 7-2 against them in 11 starts throughout his career. He's allowed in 68 innings, 12 home runs, 79 strikeouts in 68 innings. So good numbers against the Cubs. So hopefully that will remain. I like the fact that he's pitching at home. I mean, I think we have a good chance to win tonight.
Well, it's funny, guys, when you look at the line score that's up on the screen here on Phillies Fastball, as we talked about 6 different innings they scored, it just feels like a whole different team one day to the next sometimes. But that's kind of the way this team rolls, right? I mean, that's kind of who they are.
Kyle Schwarber keep hitting home runs, and we're going to win a lot of games.
Kyle Schwarber hits a lot of home runs. Yes, you win a lot of games. Jeff, what's he on pace for? 61? Did you
61 home runs and 122 RBIs. That's the number.
Which would be pretty crazy because I think a lot of us came into this season saying, well, he really can't hit 58 home runs again. And now he's on pace to surpass 58 home runs. And, that would be a magical season if he can do that.
Look, you got Jordan Walker with the Cardinals that had not done anything in his career. I think projecting 108 home runs this year. So look, I'll take 50 home runs and 120 RBIs any day of the week for Kyle. He's special. Look, as Kyle goes, this team goes from a batting standpoint.
Yeah, well, I know we talked about it a little bit, but that 5th inning last night was one of my favorite innings that I've seen in a long time. I mean, single, just hard hit balls, everybody going around. I mean, that to me is what, if this team can find a way, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday, Justin Crawford's approach and the way he hits the ball and just goes the other way and hits it where it's pitched. If you can get a couple guys having that philosophy, this team can have innings like that more often.
Jeff, I don't think they're being taught that way, right?
No, I don't think they are here, Oscar.
You know who I want to. You know who we absolutely need, and it's a must. Trey Turner. Turner needs to start making contact. I mean, he cannot be hitting 254 with a 296. And I know he's tricky and he's going to turn it around, but he's a key hitter, just like Schwarber. I mean, look at the OPS of Schwarber right now, 1.026. We need Trey Turner to start to get going as well, so he could be on base when Schwarber and Harper are hitting.
I agree with that. I think Turner, remember last year he won the batting title, but with a batting average of 307. His on-base was good last year. I couldn't believe the one number that really surprised me was that he was 5th in the MVP balloting last year. Trey Turner was. I don't know about you guys. It just didn't feel like he had a top 5 season in the National League.
Probably because he was the only 300 hitter in the National League last year, which is kind of nuts.
By the way, I will say on Trey Turner, the error he made the other night and last night's error as well. He's had a couple errors the last couple games in the field. That would be one thing on Turner in terms of.
If you had to pick a flaw from last night's game, it was probably the 3 errors.
And look at something that I noticed yesterday. I was in the Carlos Baerga show and I was running some stats. When you look at this year, the OPS in baseball is 701. Last year was 719. And the previous 2 years was 711 and 734. So what's going on here is that the pitching is taking advantage of hitters right now, and the OPS is significantly lower at 700 than 734 it was a couple of years ago.
What did Charlie Manuel used to say when it warms up?
Yeah, it's hitting season.
It's hitting season. He would always say it in May. It's hitting season.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the weather is already heating up, so hitting season should start a little earlier this year for these guys. Real quick, by the way, as Oscar, you have the Phillies stats up on the screen for those of you watching. Stott 200, I do agree with you, Jeff. He's had some better at-bats. He's hit the ball a little bit harder, hit a couple balls on the nose at people. Bohm had the hit last night. I was surprised to see 10 RBI. He is 4th on the team still in RBI, even though he has really struggled. And then the other guy, Real Muto, all the way up to 263. But the 378 on base, I was really surprised to see that about Real Muto.
Yeah, he looked yesterday with 3 hits. He looked beautiful. I mean, he was on yesterday. So it's great to see him. But you're going to get days like that, and you're going to get 3 or 4 games where he doesn't do anything. I mean, that's the reality who Realmuto is today.
And you know what, Oscar? He was hitting before he took both balls off his foot. So
he did.
It's had to be tough for him. Like you're you're not in a funk, but you're starting to get on a little bit of a roll, and then you're missing games, and you don't want to miss games, and you want to be out there. And the Phillies are smart, taking it cautious with JT, and he got the rest a little bit last night too.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Good stuff, guys. As always, Oscar and Jeff, we've got Phillies Fastball each and every day. And, of course, you can check us out on all the social media platforms. And right here, we've got Phillies and Cubs tonight. And then tomorrow it is Phillies and Cubs, the rubber match. Hopefully for the Phillies, it is Imanaga tomorrow against Luzardo. So two lefties pitch.
Yeah, Luzardo needs to bounce back. Oh, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention on this show. So it looks like they're going to have Painter pitch Sunday this week. He's not going to be pitching. Yeah, they're going to push Painter back, and they're going to have
Thursday off. Thursday off.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They're having Thursday off so they can flip flop little things around because I think that's their last off day.
Walker's going to pitch on Friday.
Yeah, Walker's Friday, and then Sanchez is Saturday. I believe that's what they're going to do because that'd be regular rest.
And then Painter will pitch Sunday.
Yeah. Give Painter some more time, obviously, with the migraine thing. And, look, you got to preserve him. This is the way to do it.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right, and it's not only the migraine thing. I think they have to just try to find ways to keep his innings down. So Walker Friday, Sanchez Saturday.
When is their next off day after Thursday? I don't think they have an off day for a bit.
Next off day after Thursday. Jeff putting us on the spot here. Let's see if we can
so they have Thursdays. They have the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th. They're off.
The 27th is the next
and the
off
27th, and the 27th is the next day.
So these are their off days. Okay, wait till you see this, by the way, guys.
That is a Monday, by the way, for the people.
So Monday the 27th. So they're going to play one.
They have 2 off days in the next month.
They're going to play 10 straight games starting next Friday.
And then they don't have an off day till the middle of May. So,
by the way, they're tough games. They're tough games because they're against the Cubs and against the Braves. I mean, both teams that have some good hitters.
Real quick, Jeff, when Wheeler comes up, do you anticipate them sticking with a 6-man rotation at least at the start?
I think at the start, yeah, that's what Rob seemed to hint at. He said he obviously hasn't thought the whole way through, but they're in the planning stages of that. So, look, Wheeler pitches Tuesday and then he pitches Sunday. You slide him in regular rest. So let me look at the schedule here. If you go by regular rest, he pitches Sunday. He would slot in that Friday game against the Braves on April 24th.
The 24th, yeah. 24th.
April 24th. And if you really want to stretch him, you could do the 25th. But yes, 24th or 25th.
Right now, Christopher Sanchez is scheduled for the 24th, but I guess that might get flipped based on when he pitches earlier. By the way, that is an Apple TV game, so Wheeler's first match pitch of the season, outing of the season, might be an Apple TV night for all the people out there. So
the Eagles are on, the Phillies are on a lot of streaming services this year. They're on Peacock on Sunday night. They are on Netflix for the Field of Dreams game. Yep, this week, Sunday Night Baseball on Peacock.
Yeah, and that 24th is NFL draft weekend.
Yes, 23rd, 24th.
I think I'd rather watch Wheeler, and keep in mind I cover the Eagles.
Not a fan of the draft, Jeff Kerr. All right.
I am not a draft guy at all.
All right, Jeff Kerr, you stated it. You don't like the draft. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow for the Fastball. You can check out Phillies Fastball each and every day right here on the Sports Bash on all social media platforms. Coming up, Howie Roseman spoke today. He was asked about A.J. Brown. You'll hear what he had to say about that. Plus, he got his thoughts on the Jalen Hurts article that came out recently at ESPN.com. What did he think about that one, and what could the Eagles have done better? That's coming up next, plus the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. That's later on in the show, and former Philly Dave Gallagher joins me tonight at 5 o'clock on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN.
because A.J. Brown is an Eagle and he's not going anywhere until June 1st, or he's not going anywhere at all, which is exactly what would make sense if you're trying to win a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles with the roster they currently have otherwise.
Wide receiver room's a little crowded right now.
And it would be highly difficult, or at least the odds of winning it all would be greater with him and less without him. He's that good. That's why you want him. That's why the Rams were interested in getting him.
Rich Eisen said that today on the Rich Eisen Show, heard right here on 97.3 ESPN. I agree with Rich Eisen. You have a better shot of winning the Super Bowl with A.J. Brown than without him. So why are you thinking about trading A.J. Brown? And again, unless you get something back in return, that makes this team better, I don't know how that happens. Now, you can give me some delusional trades that aren't going to happen of guys that have no 0.0 chances of getting traded that I would do. Listen, if I would do the deal for the players that you would say, hey, you could trade A.J. Brown for Christian Gonzalez. Well, of course I would do that trade. Do you think the Patriots are making that trade? Josh, do you think the Patriots are trading Christian Gonzalez for A.J. Brown?
In a word, no.
So I don't think that there are delusional trades that can be made. I think there are trades that can be made. The question is, do they make you happy? The Eagle fan. The thing that Rich Eisen said is what I've been saying all along. Why are you trying to trade a guy for two things? One, you have Super Bowl aspirations. Do you have the same Super Bowl aspirations if you trade A.J. Brown? I would say you do not. Now, there are very few players that you can get back in return that can help you keep the Super Bowl aspirations. Does it have to be a wide receiver? Not necessarily. Now, could it be an edge rusher? Yeah, if you said, I got Myles Garrett. Okay, now I traded A.J. Brown and I got a player at a position that I have a deficiency. But I definitely think what Eisen said today is correct. That the importance of A.J. Brown to this team is too much for you to just trade him for draft picks. Now, here's the other part of this. By the way, Geoff Mosher in 22 minutes. Football at 4. Do you trade A.J. Brown while the value's the highest? That's your conundrum. And when I say the value's the highest, it might mean you're not getting players back in return. Are you okay with that? Howie Roseman, he did speak today. And he was asked about A.J. Brown. Can you believe that he was actually asked about A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown took had a little fun with the question regarding A.J. Brown. Here's what he said.
What does that mean for A.J. Brown? Like, do you feel like if he is traded, you have depth there at wide receiver? Like, how does that?
The odds are that I'm answering this question any different than I answered anywhere else. Like, really? Like, do you think that's like 50%? Do you think that's 75%?
I felt like I needed to ask.
A.J. Brown's an Eagle.
A.J. Brown is an Eagle. Do you think I'm going to answer that question any differently? What are the chances I say something different this time? The question has to be asked. Martin Frank, I believe, is the reporter who tried to ask the question. Martin works for the Wilmington News Journal for all our Delaware listeners over there. I definitely think that the Eagles have come up with the status quo answer, if you will, on this one. The team did trade for Dontavian Wicks. They have signed a couple of wide receiver. Why the trade for Wicks?
Tay's a player that we've followed. Obviously, we played Green Bay a bunch of times. You see his skill set. I mean, he's a physical, explosive player at the top of routes. He can play inside or out. So he's a guy that we had our eye on here. And then, bringing in some of these Green Bay guys. Some of the hardest part of our job is the cohab part. Not understanding who the person is. And so when you get a chance to bring in some of these new coaches and then talk about some of the players and the skill set and then know how they are in the building, it makes you feel even more confident when you make the acquisition.
Yeah, I know that he just said it at the end there. When you have it almost sounds like the fact that Mannion was there mattered, right? You know, the fact that you have a coach in that building now that was definitely, I don't want to say lobbying or pushing for him, but it sounded like that's what made them feel comfortable about it. He also talked about the wide receiver room as a whole. They added Hollywood Brown. They added Elijah Moore. And now they've added Dontavian Wicks. Some people would say, are you trying to trade somebody? Here's what he said about the wide receiver room this offseason.
When you look at our receiver room over the last couple of years, obviously we lost Jahan. We've probably been fortunate about the depth that we haven't really had to dive into. And just studying the league and seeing how many teams, can go pretty deep in their receiver room, that was one of the priorities going into this offseason, and increasing the depth, the quality of talent in the receiver room throughout the room. So that really fit for us. Really excited to get Tay here and think he's an arrow up guy.
Yeah. So one of the things about this team the last couple of years is they really only had two wide receivers. Dotson hasn't really given you much. If somebody got hurt, they didn't really have anything to go to. They felt that they needed – and look, A.J. Brown's getting older. Even if he is here, he's had knee problems. He's missed games. So they felt that they needed to add wide receivers. But I got to imagine they feel like if they lose A.J. Brown, they're better there than they were at the end of last season, right? We can all agree on that. 609-403-0973. Sirianni also dives in on what they think about Dontavian Wicks.
Howie mentioned of how he is at the top of the route, to be able to separate at the top of the route. And I think his toughness really shows up on tape. And so, again, like when you can create that type of separation, we obviously get really excited about that, really excited to add him to that room, and excited to have him.
I think the other thing when you talk about Tay is you can see that in key situations that the quarterback had a lot of trust in him.
Yeah, Tay. I guess that's his new nickname. The quarterback had a lot of trust in him at the top of the route. That's a different quarterback. That's one key thing. That's a quarterback in love that takes a little bit more chances than your quarterback does. Which, by the way, Roseman was asked about the article that pertained to Jalen Hurts that was written a couple of weeks ago. Here is what Howie Roseman had to say about the article at ESPN.com from Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler.
I have seen those reports. Bob and our PR staff do a great job of showing us what we need to see. I would say that we have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players and the conversations with our players. So for us, if we have any issue with any of our players, we talk to them directly. So, from my perspective, from Nick's perspective, from Jeffrey's perspective, we're not hiding behind anything. We will talk to our players directly.
But he went on to say at the end there that he thought the reporting was unfortunate. And I thought that was the key part of that bite there, was he did kind of mention that he thought the fact that this article was written was unfortunate. So it seems that the Eagles are annoyed by this. However, some have suggested it's the Eagles themselves that are the ones that made sure this got out there. So I find the answer to be quite contradictory if that is in fact the case. If the Eagles say, hey, we're the ones that put this out there, but it's unfortunate that the reporting got to this point. I definitely thought that answer was a little bit of one that you have to read a little bit more into. This is an interesting comment. Our buddy Jeff's watching on YouTube today. He says, I've already moved on from AJ. I hate to see him go, but it's evident that he will be traded. Sad. I'm wondering, as I read this comment, and I thought about it earlier listening to all the questions, how many people have moved on from AJ and are ready to see him gone? Are you at the point where you're just like, you know what? Get this guy out of here. Are you at the point where you want to see A.J. Brown traded? Let us know. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Phil in Brigantine says, Mike, NFL teams can agree to a trade before June 1st, but delay the formal execution until after that trade. Yes, they could. You're not really allowed to, but they could certainly have the framework of the deal put together, but things could change between now and draft night. You don't know what the teams in front of you are going to do. And let's say something happens that you didn't anticipate happening, and you want to change your mind on draft night. That's why it's hard to get locked into a deal, at this stage when you don't know what happened with the draft choices in front of you. Maybe you want to trade up, and because a guy's falling, you don't know. That's the only thing with that, Phil. Real quick, he adds, do you or Moshe think Brown's skill set is starting to erode? It's been mentioned often the separation was an issue. Listen, there are some, I think Mosher has talked about this on on Football at 4, that, his times are a little off. But I definitely think if the Eagles believe the skill set is starting to erode, they would know more than us, and that they would try to pull the trigger on a deal if they, in fact, said, let's trade him now before the skill set erodes to the point where he's not productive. Because we've seen a lot of wide receivers not be productive in the blink of an eye. Good questions, Phil. Good questions, people watching on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel, it's a fun way to be a part of the show. You can watch on our YouTube channel every day. Just search 973 ESPN. You can be a part of the show over there. You can post all of your questions and comments throughout the show or on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. When we come back, it is today's unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Stick around.
I think that there is a trade to be had for Joel Embiid because if a team does not get Giannis, if a team does not get Kawhi if he's available, if a team does not get LeBron if he's choosing to leave, Joel Embiid is one of these guys where you may just convince yourself to make a move on. And I feel like the Philly fans would be like, thank you for everything. This whole process needs to end, and this is the way to end it. It's a bad contract.
Evan Cohen this morning on Sportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. And it's brought to you today by our friends at Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907, online, broadlees.net. You know, Evan's my guy, but he's wrong here. There's no team that's going to trade for Joel Embiid. Now, Evan said he can come on tonight, but we're going to try to schedule with him tomorrow because we're pretty much booked up the rest of the day. But I would love to talk to Evan about this and tell him, which teams do you think want to trade for Joel Embiid's contract, which hasn't even kicked in yet? I don't know where you're getting a trade for Joel Embiid. Is there a team out there that would be willing to trade for Joel Embiid? Now, he said anybody who's out on the Giannis thing. The difference is, I think people look at Giannis differently than they do Joel. He's won a championship. Now, he's injury-prone, but not quite in the way that Joel is. Joel's had freak things happen. Bell's palsy, appendicitis, gas. I mean, these are things that most superstars don't deal with. So I don't see the same path of trading Joel Embiid as Evan Cohen does. But I have invited him to join us on the show tomorrow to see if he can map out a couple of places that would be interested in taking on $69 million a year over the next 3. Makes you nauseous to even think about it. Sixers, Magic, tomorrow night, 97.3 ESPN. By the way, the Phillies have traded Griff McGarry to the Dodgers for international bonus pool space and a player to be named later. Does anybody else have a feeling that Griff McGarry is going to turn into some Cy Young Award winner in a playoff series, and he's going to be standing on the mound in a big spot facing some right-handed bat that has no shot, and he strikes him out in the 8th inning of a key moment of a playoff game? Griff McGarry's been such a disappointment. He was one of those pitchers mentioned with Mick Abel and Andrew Painter, and he just has never translated. I saw Griff McGarry pitch live out in Altoona one time. I think the guy's got some talent, some arm talent. For whatever reason, he's been bouncing all around. The Nationals picked him up as a Rule 5 and sent him back to the Phillies. Now the Phillies are trading him to the Dodgers. When we come back, it is today's Football at 4. Stick around. First, I need caller 7, 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. You are entered for this year's draft party at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I'm looking forward to this. It's a week from Thursday. We're going to be at the Balcony Bar. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm giving away a pair of Eagles Club Box tickets for a game this season at Lincoln Financial Field. Number 3, I'm giving away an overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort, and I'm including a $150 gift card. Number 4, I've got concert tickets, I got comedy shows, I got more gift cards. The catch, you got to be caller 6 or caller 7 to enter, and you must be present to win. Thursday, April 23rd. Good luck. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Big screens, big bets. Game day hits different at Ocean. We're going to be there live at the Balcony Bar right over top of the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City for this year's draft parties. We got a couple more qualifiers. We'll tell you who they are in just a second. But don't forget, Aaron Lewis is there on Friday night from Stained. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe is there next Friday, April 24th. Bobby Lee, comedian, on May the 2nd. Also, Matt Rife, July 24th and 25th. And Sebastian Maniscalco was there September 17th, 18th, 19th, the 20th, and from the 24th to the 27th. Those shows are all at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And, of course, they bring you Football at 4 on the Sports Bash. Well, a lot of Football at 4 stuff. I was highly looking forward to the return of Geoff Mosher yesterday. Well, we're getting it today. He is back. And there he is if you're watching on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. First off, Geoff, welcome back, man. I hope everything's going all right.
Everything's good, Mike. Everything's fine. Always good to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yeah, man. We talked to Adam yesterday in your spot, and I was looking forward to getting your take on what happened. You guys did talk about it on the podcast, I believe, about Dontavian Wicks. And then today, Howie Roseman did, he commented on why they made the trade for Wicks, what they liked about Wicks. But I wanted to get your kind of take and how you read the tea leaves of adding another wide receiver, this one who knows the offense, working with Sean Mannion. What does this say to you?
Yeah, so there's a couple of layers to this, Mike. First of all, this is something that we talked about on the podcast. I'm not sure everybody knows, but why you should be an Inside the Birds listener is that we were told that Dontavian Wicks is actually a player that Howie Roseman has really liked since college, since his days at Virginia. In fact, he went in the third round he went in the fifth round in 2023. The Eagles didn't have a fifth round pick that year, or maybe they didn't trade it out. You know how it works with them in the draft. But for whatever reason, they couldn't get him. And I think you heard Howie talk about it today, that he's a player that they've always had their eyes on, just watched throughout his career with the Packers, even before Sean Mannion was there. But then there's the layer of knowing the offense, being available. Obviously, the Packers are making changes with their offense and wide receiver core. And then, of course, the Eagles really needing depth in that area, whether or not, as we always talk about, A.J. Brown is on the team or not. They needed players. They need specific types of players who know the offense and can do certain things. And the one thing about Wicks, though, is if you're looking for tea leaves, this guy is a natural X receiver, a tall 210-pound receiver who can go up and get the ball. He is not A.J. Brown by any stretch of the means, but he can line up in that kind of spot and give you the route tree that you need to run as an extra. He can get off the press coverage if he's pressed, and he's familiar with the offense. So if there is a deal for A.J. Brown, then Wicks can play some of that role. Now, he would not automatically slide into your number one X role, of course. Devontae Smith is still your number one receiver, and the Eagles would almost surely do something in the draft to get a player who can also play either the X or fit the offense, which could also feature a lot more condensed formations, kind of like the Packers, the Rams, 49ers do, where you don't really need a true spread it out type of X that you see A.J. Brown play.
Well, yeah. So, obviously you mentioned Wicks and the fact that Sean Mannion does know him. And I just was, kind of wanted to see what you thought on how he's different from some of the other receivers they have here, because I think we've talked a little bit about, well, if they lost A.J. Brown, would Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, and what they have left over fit the bill of a receiver room? Does Smith and Wicks, with some of those guys, make it more plausible that, okay, they might have enough?
I don't think – no, I wouldn't say to me that Devontae Smith – let's say if we're assuming A.J. Brown's traded, that like a top three of Devontae Smith, Dontavian Wicks, and Marquise Brown is enough. It's not. And that's why the Eagles would assuredly do something in the draft to bring in another wide receiver, probably high in the draft, or go another route as well, or still look to upgrade that core. I mean, if you're taking AJ Brown away, remember one thing: if the Eagles deal him, you're dealing away Jalen Hurts' favorite route, right? Like he and AJ may have a different kind of relationship, but when Jalen Hurts likes to put the ball down the sideline 40 to 50 yards, it's usually to AJ Brown, and that's where a lot of their great connections have been made. Now, Dontavian Wicks can go get the ball down the field. Marquise Brown can get the ball down the field. He's actually not been as good of a downfield threat by his career average per catch average as, say, a Deshaun Jackson as what he was supposed to be. But there's, again, I mean, I don't have to tell anybody this. There's a big difference between AJ Brown and those two guys. So that's why I can't say, even with Devontae Smith in an elevated role, I'm thinking about it from the way the quarterback likes to throw the ball. They'd need a more bona fide downfield guy to go get those balls that Jalen likes to throw.
What is something that you like about Wicks that maybe some of these receivers that they've had here don't do?
Height, physicality. I'm not that they don't do it, but I mean, first of all, talent for a number 3 receiver. I mean, the Eagles have been kind of barren at number 3 receiver. And he can play a little slot. Greg Cosell told us that. We did a breakdown on Dontavian Wicks' tape. It's up today on the Inside the Birds platform. Greg Cosell broke it down. He said he can play a little slot, but it's not really his primary function. But what you like about him is his ability to use his height and his big body, to go get the ball down the field in jump ball situations and contested catch situations. Devontae Smith does that really well too. So I'm not saying that he does this best on the team or better than anybody, but he just gives that dimension that you haven't had from a number 3. That's not something Jahan Dotson would do. It's not something Quez Watkins would do. And it's not something Marquise Brown's going to do as far as contested catch ability.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I have seen him work a little bit in the slot, but on both outside and in the slot. It's something that the Eagles just have not really had a true slot guy. I don't know if he is that, but if you put Hollywood Brown and Wicks, I mean, it seems like you have different options of guys who fill different roles that you really haven't had in the past.
Yeah, and one thing I should also mention, and sometimes I get too wrapped up in who's the X, who's the slot, who's the Z, is that if this offense has a wide array of condensed formations, which is when the receivers line up tighter to the line of scrimmage, they basically line up inside and then use the space on the outside, right? You see that with the Rams all the time. Then it's less important to have receivers that you identify as one position or the other, and just more important, do you have receivers who can get open in space?
Dontavian Wicks is one. He is obviously they traded for him last week, and then there's A.J. Brown, in which today the answers have been the same. He is an Eagle. Jeff, we have been getting this momentum. Is there any more momentum shifting one way or the other with A.J., in your opinion? The trades, what we know. Obviously, we had a little hiccup with the reporter who has since resigned from her position moments ago. That news just came out. I don't know if that changed the way you viewed any of this A.J. Brown stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't view it any differently. I thought it was interesting the way Elliot Wolf had answered the question in his presser compared to how Howie did today in his presser, where one leaves the door open, the other one just says A.J. Brown's still an Eagle. Or is an Eagle. So we'll see. The only thing shifting is that we're getting closer to the draft and getting, after that we'll be getting closer to May and then June. And then the saga can have a conclusion one way or the other.
All right. So AJ, don't know, but I maintain, and we were talking about this before you came on, unless you get a player that makes you better, do you just keep A.J. Brown? Unless, and we had a text board question about this right before you came on, if you think his skills are about to erode, do you just trade him now, get the picks? Because we've discussed the picks now will probably be the best compensation that you're going to get for him.
Yeah. Or the letter C is, do you keep him and also deal with any kind of unhappiness that he may express throughout the year again? And you can say he's been doing that for a couple of years and whatever. The Eagles won a Super Bowl, they made the playoffs, but it does get worse by the year. I don't think that's arguable. I mean, last year it got to the point where he was on, Twitch or shows and saying this and that, and it became stories. So it picks up a little bit more each year. So if the offense doesn't go smoothly next year and he's still on the team, how much more does he become of a distraction in that regard? That's something the Eagles would have to, obviously take into account also. If the question is, will we be better off without him? No, from a talent standpoint, but can we win without him by improving ourselves in other areas?
Yeah. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Draft day is coming up April 23rd. And you mentioned a wide receiver in the draft. How about at 23? Do you think 23 is plausible for a wide receiver?
I think it is. I think it sure is. And there'll be some good ones in that area. Now, do I think I would handicap it more probably at just the way I've looked at some mock drafts and feel like the board might fall. There are some really good offensive tackles who are high upside. Like, they may not have as many starts, but they're really good athletes and really good measurables. The type of guys that you wouldn't mind, because the Eagles don't mind this, sitting a year behind Lane Johnson before they go ahead and become a player by year 2. So those might be hard to pass up if they're there at 23. I'm sure you've seen some of the names, like a Max Ancor from Arizona State or the Proctor from Alabama. Those might be hard to pass up. But yeah, I would definitely think receiver is edge player, receiver, and offensive tackle to me and corner maybe could be sneaky also.
Tight end?
First round.
Are you a Sadiq fan enough that if at 23 he's there, you got to take him?
You run to the podium to take him.
I
agree. That's me speaking.
I agree. But Adam and I were talking about this yesterday. Is you really don't have any. The draft is for the future. You don't have a future tight end on this roster at all. You keep kicking the can down the road with Goddard.
Yeah, not one. Right? It's not just about Goddard, right? Calcaterra, 1-year deal. Munt, 1-year deal. Who's the other guy that I'm missing? Goddard, Calcaterra, Munt. There's another one that they've got who's basically in the last year of his deal. So, yeah.
Well,
Latu, Cam Latu is on the last year of his deal.
And there's one more guy.
Well, there's EJ Jenkins, but I'm really more talking about, Jenkins and Jaheim Bell are kind of either practice squad guys or
Stone Smart.
Yeah, that's another 1-year deal. But he's no short shot to make the team.
So. No, but it almost lines up that the Eagles are saying we've got to get our tight end of the future now, and all these guys are all stopgaps.
Yeah, basically. And, some of them, like Stone Smart, are probably a dart throw.
Would you trade up for Sadiq?
Probably not.
That kind of player, no?
I mean, no, it's not that. It's just you get into then positional value. Do you want to give up an extra pick along with your first rounder to move up for a tight end as opposed to an offensive tackle? Or, you get into the money element of it in 3 to 4 years when you extend them. Is it going to be, that and have to pay him top of the line tight end money? Do you do that? So I probably don't. I'd trade up like 2 spots, Mike, if that's what you're asking, but I'm not going up to the top 15 or top 12.
Yeah. Well, that's something we'll get into as we get closer, but what players at positions are, if they start to fall, there's where you move up because that guy fell and he's at what number? I don't know. I really haven't looked to see if there's a guy that I think he'll get to 18, and if he gets to 18, bang, you got to go up and make that move because they have so many middle round picks that you wonder if they start to make they have the ability to make those calls. They also have A.J. Brown. I don't know that they would trade him on draft night, though. Do you think they would trade A.J. Brown on draft night that close to June 1st?
I mean, only if somebody's going to give them what they're looking for, but otherwise, then why would you do that, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Why would you take the cap hit if you weren't getting exactly what you wanted?
It makes sense, but you're in the moment, it's like, hey, you want to move up 5 spots for this player? We'll take A.J. Brown. It's like, do we want to take that cap hit to move up 5 spots?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think one thing about Howie at this point, Mike, is that he's not a panicker. He's not that guy from the movie. What was the movie about the NFL draft? I think it was called Draft Day. Yeah. And then, I think I forget. It was Kevin Costner. I forget who played. He's like,
Kevin Costner.
Let's pick on this guy. He's our first-year GM, and in the moment he'll freeze up and do something. Howie's not that guy at this point of his career, so I can't imagine that he's going to be like, he's got everything planned out. He's had it planned. This is one of the best things about Howie is just his attention to detail and plan and sticking to that plan when you get there, and that's why he's been pretty good at the draft over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Ever since. What's really funny? Not to go off into that. The Jalen Hurts. I'm probably going to write something about this for Philly Voice. That 2020 draft is an absolute bleep show without Jalen Hurts being picked in the second round. It's actually one of the worst drafts in NFL history or in Eagles history, right? With Jalen Reagor in the first round and who's the linebacker from Colorado? Davion Taylor. Yeah, in the third round, and Kayvon Wallace in the fourth round, and Hightower in the fifth round. I mean, it was just a terrible draft. Right. It was a terrible draft, except for the fact that you got a Super Bowl winning quarterback, franchise cornerstone. And there is an expression that if you hit on a quarterback in a draft, it's a successful draft no matter what.
Yeah.
And that is literally the epitome of the 2020 draft.
Real quick, Howie said the criticism on Jalen was unfair and unfortunate. Is that genuine that he thought that? Because some people thought that it was, in fact, the organization that wanted that story to get out.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Because this is more of like an interpretation question. So we're all pros here. Did you listen to his press conference? Did you see him answer the question?
I didn't see his body language. I heard the answer.
You heard, okay, so you could hear it in live. How did you interpret that?
He seemed frustrated that he answered it, and then at the end he was like, "It's unfortunate."
Yeah, I took when I was.
Well, do we have it, Josh? Can we play it? Do we have the answer to that question? Let me see if we have the answer. Because then we can play it in real time, and I can kind of remember. But, we don't have the end of it. The end got cut off or something.
No problem. I would just say this. I think one thing that really stuck out from that answer was that when he said, we're not hiding behind anything, we talk to our players directly. One issue we don't have is communication. That was I felt like that was his way of saying, we did not leak this story. This is not something that we went out there and tried to damage Jalen Hurts' name. And in doing that, he sort of only deflected that and didn't really come to Jalen's defense very strongly, other than to say it's unfair.
It's unfortunate, right?
It's unfortunate,
and that's where at the end he's like, quite frankly, it's unfortunate, and it was almost like it's unfortunate that you put it out there.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It is kind of interesting. Like if he's trying to say, well, we communicate this with everybody, and then you're like, but it's unfortunate that it even got out there. But again, it wasn't like one source told me. It was like dozens of people.
Right.
By
the way, I just want to offer for anybody who doesn't see it and reads the quote, there is a very, I don't want to say a misleading word, but a use of the word not that could be very, very confusing.
I agree.
He says that I would say that we have some faults. One is not being direct and honest with our players and a conversation with our players. If you put the emphasis in the right area, or
why would Jerry bring anything?
So what he was saying, one of our flaws is not that we are dishonest or indirect. Just to make
I've been
sure
watching a lot of Seinfeld on TV Land. Is it bad that Seinfeld is now on TV Land? I mean, holy
Well, I was too last week, actually. That's funny.
Yeah. So why would Jerry bring anything? Why would Jerry bring it?
But when I reread it, Mike, I was like, wait a minute. Did he
agree.
say that? Oh, I'm like, oh, yeah, he did. You have to put the emphasis on the right word.
I agree with you on that. All right. So here, we'll play this for the listeners who are just tuning in. Here is what Roseman, how he responded to the question regarding the article written about Jalen Hurts. Here it is.
We have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players and the conversations with our players. So for us, if we have any issue with any of our players, we talk to them directly. So, from my perspective, from Nick's perspective, from Jeffrey's perspective, We're not hiding behind anything. We will talk to our players directly. I think that it's unfair. It's unfair to have these articles written, but I understand it's also what sells at this point. So, yeah, I think it's unfortunate.
And I'm trying to help you sell.
He put the emphasis on the isn't instead of the one, right? So that it made it sound like he's saying two different exact opposite things in the same quote.
Well, let me play the first 5 seconds. Here again.
We have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our.
We have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest.
Right.
Like, what?
He should have said one of them isn't that we are, direct. He should have double reversed it.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Good stuff. Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast, getting you ready for the draft, off-season stuff, OTAs, mini camps, all of it. You got it right here on Football at 4. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Geoff Mosher, everybody. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook. Ocean Casino is the go-to game day destination. Huge screens, great drinks, all the sportsbook action you want. Perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win. The Sports Bash will be live at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort, April the 23rd. All right, when we come back, it is today's edition of Nick's Nuggets. Earnshaw joins me for some Nuggets today. Flyers are going back to the playoffs. Kevin Durso tonight in about 1 hour from now. 4:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Real quick, before we get to the Nuggets, Josh, I wanted to see if you've heard from Flyers Nate yet for the Fantasy Hockey League. Is there any update on Flyers Nate in the Fantasy Hockey League yet? Did anybody hear from Nate?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
You know, Fantasy Flyers Nate, he liked one of our stories on Instagram, so I thought maybe someone had talked to him.
So it's interesting you mentioned that because I've been seeing that he is active on Instagram.
Active.
Like I'll see like the green little light.
Yeah.
But I won't actually see him posting anything.
All right.
So I'm kind of wondering, is he like hiding? Like what's going on here? Like I'm trying to decipher like.
Are you in on the story, Earnshaw? Do you know what's going on here?
I've been made aware of the Fantasy Hockey League, the whole nine. Yes.
Now, have you heard from Hockey Nate?
I have not heard from Hockey Nate. I know he's very excited. No, he might have had a night last night. Maybe that's why. He might have left his phone open, had the app still open, so it might still be green Josh, and maybe, he had a good time.
No. Stop. Okay? The group chat dates back 2 weeks now. We're going on weeks.
Are you in the group chat?
Me? No.
Oh, were you in the hockey league?
I was not in the hockey league.
Oh, I didn't know.
Alex is in the hockey league.
Licks is, yeah.
Yeah. No, the point
now,
is...
Licks is on my bad side now.
Oh, what'd he do?
I made a nice graphic last night about the Flyers clinching, and he didn't use it. He used some other graphic.
Wow.
Ooh. No bueno.
Going against the boss's wishes.
Yeah, exactly. Take it up with him.
No bueno, senor.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, still, it seems like this whole hockey league thing has been a complete waste of my time and energy. And if I've learned anything is that...
Well, it's not over yet.
Oh, it's over.
Did you already win?
I'm losing.
Oh.
I'm going to lose. But now there's a whole argument in the group chat.
Yeah?
Which Nate still hasn't weighed in on, by the way. Which
That's a bad job by Nate.
He's a league commissioner, okay?
Yeah, bad job not getting back to people.
So you'll love this, Nick, because you and I had this conversation previously 2 weeks ago about, league etiquette, right?
Sure. Yes, we did on the air. We did on Hanging with Henning.
One person in the group chat says it's a winner-take-all league.
Mm-hmm.
Another person says it's not.
That has to be mapped out at the beginning, right?
Yes,
And
100%.
Uh-huh.
But the league commissioner hasn't said squadoosh.
Oh, MIA.
Oh.
Well, I got to imagine someone in the listening audience knows Hockey Nate.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to take control of that. He's the commissioner. That has to be set in the beginning before the season starts. And we talked about that just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, bad job, Nate. Like, I know he's flyered up right now, but man, Nate, you got to be out there. You got to get involved in your league and lay the hammer down. Lay it down.
I mean, did he recruit you to get in the league?
Yes.
Wow.
And he's MIA.
He recruited me. He recruited Durso. He recruited Alex.
Wow. This is a bad job. Hockey Nate. Hockey Nate, bad job.
I think he asked me to be in it. I might have said no.
He didn't ask me to be in it, but now I know if he does, he's a poor commissioner.
Yeah.
I could have sworn last night that one of the Instagram posts that Hockey Nate, all hockeyed up, all flyered up, I think he hit the like button, and I said, oh, maybe Nate's back in the good graces.
How about
when
that?
Nate left here, now Nate used to work here. When Nate left here, it was on good terms.
Yes.
I never had a problem with Hockey Nate.
Never had a problem with him before, ever.
Wow.
Love Nate. But that's a bad job. Poor commissioner right here. I mean, you need communication. You got to lay down the hammer in the beginning of the year, set the ground rules. This is how it's going to be. And now he's nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
Yeah. If I've learned anything, it's if you want something, you got to do it yourself or not at all.
You going to run the hockey league next year?
I don't know who's going to show up is the question.
Well, Nate got 10 people in it.
I mean, I had to revive the group chat just to even find out what was going on.
Now, because of the Flyers being relevant again and going on the run and everyone's flyered up, you think more people will be interested and be more attentive to the league next year?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't even know half these dudes are in the league.
Yeah, that's another problem. You
They're
get into a
all
league,
Nate's
you don't
friends.
know people.
They're all like Nate's friends and stuff.
They're all Nate's friends. I think Nate started a league with his buddies, took everyone's money and then dispersed it to them, and now he's gone.
Well, I actually never paid Nate.
Wow. Oh, there's
I
a
didn't pay
twist.
anyone.
You haven't paid anybody?
Well, because I reached out to him to pay him, and he didn't get back to me.
Wow. That's like the whole story that happened last week with Doc
Schaefer?
Doc Schaefer. We couldn't find the guy who won the NCAA pool. Did you know this?
Yes, you did say this to me. Yes, I heard about this.
We couldn't find him. We didn't know who he was attached to. And we had no direct line to who he paid.
Oh,
and
geez.
it clearly says in the rules, you can't win the bracket unless you pay on time.
Discrepancy here.
Right. Well, he ended up reaching out. He says, I won, and I paid. We said, well, have you paid? We don't have any payment for you. He said, I paid. He gave us the date, and the name he gave was not the same name that he had on the bracket.
Oh,
So
wow.
On the bracket, it said Doc Schaefer, which this is a whole nother story that ended up emerging from this. Because I texted my cousin, and I said, do you know this guy? And he said, I think he lives next door to my mom. Well, that person happens to have a name that was very similar to Schaefer.
Wow.
So we thought maybe it was the next door neighbor who won, and we couldn't find any payment that was attached to them. But this guy, his name was David something or another, and when he Venmo'd, it said David Keith. So it had his first name and his middle name, but nothing associated with Doc or Schaefer.
Now, I will say, I think somebody you noted this. There's a lot of people in this bracket.
70 people.
Yeah.
Right.
It was actually one of our lowest attended brackets this year.
But still, tracking 70 people is a lot more complicated than running a 10-man fantasy hockey league.
I agree.
Okay? So, to me, it's not even an apples to apples or even apples to oranges.
And by the way, we got the payment out the next day.
Yeah.
Everybody, bang, bang, bang.
There you go.
Doc Schaefer, Cha-ching, second place, third place. Everybody got a little something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen,
everybody was communicated with.
Yeah.
I'm going to text Hockey Nate. Should I get involved with this?
I think you should.
I'll laugh.
Yeah, I think you should. Josh, what you should do is you should add him to the group chat. Add Gil in there and spice the whole thing up.
I'm just going to text him myself and say, Hockey Nate, yo, I heard you're going silent on the Hockey League. What's going on? Now, you lost, though.
Add me into the group chat.
Well, I'm in the championship game.
Me, Mike, Josh, and Nate.
All right.
We'll
What
do
you
that.
got there? What nugget do you have?
I don't even know. We got on fantasy hockey. I'm just not even. I can't do the fantasy hockey, the baseball, the basketball. I prefer the fantasy football. I'll hang there. I used to do it.
I'm not on hockey. I'm not doing fantasy hockey. I'm doing fantasy baseball right now, and even that's starting to get tougher.
Yeah, I've done the basketball in the past. I've done the hockey. I've done the baseball. I'm just sticking with football at the moment for fantasy.
See, I love it because it actually helps me track the rest of the teams.
I do hoops again if we can get enough people.
All right.
Just don't ask Hockey Nate to run it.
Yeah, I might have to run that too.
You get if we get a basketball group together next year, it's got to be, I think 12. 12 is like a
Especially
good enough
for
number.
basketball.
A good enough number where you have to know what you're doing. You can't have some jamoke in there.
Right.
No jamokes. None. All right.
No jabronis.
Yeah. All right. Can I get into I had a ton of nuggets. No way I'm getting all of them. There's no way. I mean, there is so much going on right now, Mike and Josh. And Josh, it's great to see your face. I mean, you look beautiful today, buddy. I just wanted to say that. If you're watching on the YouTube and X platform, he looks fantastic. It's great to see Josh's face.
We got new cameras in here.
I know. I'm so ecstatic. I can't wait to walk in on our Saturday. Schwab's not going to know what to do. So he's going to be in a new world.
I can already warn you, Schweim's going to hate the setup.
Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is.
I just
Don't
give
complain
you
about
fair
something.
warning so you can mentally prepare yourself.
Well, I have to mentally prepare for him because the Flyers. I mean, we are talking Flyers in the postseason, guys. I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't know if you guys saw. I tweeted at Schweim and I tweeted at you, Gil, as well. How about our buddy Scott Grayson? Grayson's grades. I mean, he's all flyered up. He's outside for Fox 29, and he's got the big jersey on, the whole shebang. Jason Martinez, Devin Cady, they're out there reporting on the game. He looked fantastic. I mean, the buzz around the Flyers, and I tweeted this out last night, Mike. shades of 2010 because of all of how everything played out, right? Vladar getting the save to send them to the playoffs in the shootout. I felt like I was watching Bush again in 2010. I was 10 years old in my pajamas watching that. I mean, it was awesome, Mike. This is absolutely outstanding that we finally have a relevant team again. And when you can get behind a team and the city gets behind it and the area gets behind it, from the shore to Philadelphia, I mean, there is nothing more fun than watching a team rise up with young players get into the postseason. I felt like it was 16 years ago, Mike.
Top 5 playoff runs, 2010 Flyers have got to be on that, right?
Have to be. Especially because
Sixers.
they came back from 3-0 in that run.
0-1 Sixers, 10 Flyers. I mean, some of the teams, I'm talking about the teams that did not win a title.
22 Phillies.
I'm excluding them. 22 Phillies. Because they're all teams.
Phillies.
2009 Phillies. They went to the World Series.
Yeah.
But they had already won the World Series the year before.
Yeah.
So they were. These are all teams that you didn't expect to do what they did, and they
Obviously,
gave you one of your most memorable.
1993.
Yeah,
93. I was about to say 93 as well. Like those are the type of runs that like are just they come out of nowhere and they are just fun. Like I haven't seen like in my lifetime. I was a little kid when the 2010 run happened, and this is like the first time in my adult life that the Flyers have really been a team that you can root for and that are exciting.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. That's the difference. Is they're different because they're young and they're exciting. It's not a team that's like stale and boring. They have players that are going to be here for a little while. It's much like what got you into the Sixers in 2018. Yep. They had Simmons and Embiid, and they were fun, and they were, new because they had been in the process years, and then all of a sudden they win 52 games, and they're fun. And then for the next 3 to 4 years, you were all into them until they've let you down so much that you're now out on them. The Flyers are where the Sixers were a little bit in 2018. They've been bad for 5 years, and now they have a couple of young players that have got you they've grabbed you. Let's hope that they can get past the second round at one of these years now.
Yep. And guess who? Who's more fired up than anybody? I texted him last night, and he's going to be joining you in a little bit. Our guy, Durso. I texted him. I said, Durso, I see you getting the mic in there in the interviews. I shot him a screenshot of it. I said, Durso,
last night, right?
I said, you get to cover some playoff puck. He gets back to me. I appreciate you, Nuggets. Got a few more games to cover. Let's go. He's fired up to cover these playoff games, Mike. We said Durso down there. He's had some tough games to cover over the past couple of years. This has been a tough franchise to watch game in and game out. I am so happy for Durso. He gets to cover some playoff puck.
Yeah, me too. And considering that the last time they made the playoffs, 2020, there were no games in Philly.
No, it was the bubble. It doesn't really count. It's really 2018 the last time they were in the postseason.
Yeah, that was the last time they had a postseason game in Philadelphia.
Yep, correct.
Years ago, when the Flyers were in the playoffs, early on, 2014, back to that time frame, we used to do our show live from the Wells Fargo Center.
How about that?
Yeah,
Years
outside,
ago.
They would have a block party out front.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be live out front of the Wells Fargo Center before the game doing the show live. We went wall to wall, former players, all sorts of guys. I have pictures from way back when we did shows from outside Wells Fargo for Flyers playoff games.
Yeah, we went to a ton of games that era of the 2010 run. Back in the day, I'll have to find them. When I was a little kid, we went to a ton of games those years. I'm going to find those pictures later today. I'll have to show them on Nuggets tomorrow or something. But it's incredible to have it back. Happy for all the Flyers fans that have suffered for years and years, and now they get playoff puck. It's unbelievable. Speaking of things coming back, though, nugget number 2, the UFC is coming back to Philadelphia. Did you see this, Mike? It was announced on the Pat McAfee show. They had the governor there. They had Dana White announcing that Philadelphia UFC 330 is going to be here in August, Mike. It's been 15 years since the UFC has been back. So we're getting playoff puck. Philadelphia is just the place to be for America 250. You get all these events, and I have a negative nugget before we get out of here. But how about the UFC coming back?
I'm surprised it's been away that long. It feels like it's the kind of place that they should be at very frequently, right?
Yeah, it's going to be Xfinity Mobile Arena. So it's back in the area for the first time in a while. I mean, they've done stuff in Atlantic City for years as well.
Yeah, they haven't done they've done some what have they done? Like side cards in Atlantic City.
Yeah, they did like the fight nights. But there's been like, some high profile fights on those fight nights. Like the one card had like, Frankie Edgar on it years ago.
Yeah.
The more recent one, they had Aaron Blanchard. She's the New Jersey fighter. So
gotta say though,
yeah,
UFC I feel like has dropped off the radar a ton.
It's become more niche again. It's less mainstream.
You think?
I couldn't tell you one champion, one high profile. I don't know who any of their who's the high profile fighter that I'm forgetting about.
My Gen Z self over here, it's still big among my age group here. Like, people are going out every weekend, like when there's a big fight. I don't think there's the big name, but around like the younger demo, yeah, I think it's still very big.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it used to be much more.
It used to be more mainstream.
Like right now, if you told me this is the fight, like that, everybody, I don't think I would know who two fighters are.
I don't think there's a big name, and I know Josh could speak to it probably more than I can because he definitely follows it closer. But I don't think there's that big name anymore. I mean, since really McGregor and those type of guys, there hasn't been like this big, gigantic superstar that they developed.
Right.
Listen, we could do a podcast about this and get it much deeper, but maybe we revive Earnshaw Radio for a deep podcast dive.
I know.
Earnshaw Radio done.
It's not done. It's just on pause. It's paused. It's paused.
Yeah, listen. I called the UFC. I called CFFC fights for like a couple of years.
Yeah, you and Phil.
I had a great CM Punk man was my color analyst. I enjoyed it.
He came up to us at Radio Row.
He did. He gave me a big hug.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
There you go.
Who gets a bigger hug? Mike Gill from Phil or Billy Schwein from Rich Gannon?
No, I think Mike Gill from Ocho Cinco.
Ocho Cinco. Had to be
he
the
knocked
Ocho
my breath
Cinco.
away. He knocked the wind out of me with that hug.
I am so upset we didn't get that on video.
CM Punk, by the way. You didn't get the CM Punk hug.
I was running around getting a guest around the CM Punk time. I missed
that. When we saw CM Punk at first, he walked by me like he didn't know me.
Correct.
Because he was in character.
Yes.
He was in character on his way to his interview.
Right.
Yeah.
So he didn't have time for me. But on his way back from that intervio, he came up to me and gave me the hug.
Yes. Yes, he did. And the
Really
Ocho
quick,
Cinco,
At first, I felt like a complete jamoke.
like, hey, I know you, and he just walked. Didn't even.
You
acknowledge.
remember me? We worked together for like we did a bunch of fights together.
It's like the Marvel movie. He's a friend from work. So to answer your question about the UFC thing,
Yeah.
the UFC got away from what made them the UFC. The UFC used to build up fighters, but in today's world, they've depended too much on social media building up the fight. That's why it's so popular among your generation.
Yeah.
Because guys like Sean O'Malley, they're almost as more social media stars than they are actually fighting stars.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that the average person, like over the age of 30, is like, who's even the champion? Nobody knows.
Yep.
But I want to go see somebody fight, so let's go out and watch them fight.
Yeah, now somebody says on the text board, on the White Horse RV text board, you guys have lost your marbles if you think UFC dropped off, and I'm 47. Now, I don't think it dropped off. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's less. I don't think they have the recognize. I know they have huge fights every weekend. They sell out. In that aspect. I'm talking about
the superstar.
Like the one fight. The fighters that would get a casual fan to be like, so-and-so's fighting this weekend,
John Jones,
I'm watching
Ronda
that
Rousey.
card. Yeah, they don't – like back then, 10 years ago, if McGregor fought, if you never watched one fight, you were watching that fight. Ronda Rousey, when she fought, a casual fan was going to watch. I don't think that fighter exists right now.
And listen, like, for example, I'm a huge fan of Kayla Harrison, okay? She's the UFC champ right now. She's an amazing human being. Her story's incredible. She's been on a guest here on 97.3 ESPN. She has a more decorated resume than Ronda Rousey. She's a better fighter than Ronda is. But she doesn't have the same box office that Ronda does. And that's the difference people understand. Like, it's the idea of you may have an actor or actress who has more name recognition, but the other actress might be a better actor, right?
I still think it's massive. I think they don't have the big superstar at the moment. That's all.
I agree.
I think it's
I agree
massive.
too, and I'm the UFC diehard over here.
I know.
Yeah,
All right.
listen, again, I watched a ton of UFC, but recently, like
Watch
I know,
a ton of the Masters too.
I used to. I had a bunch of fighters that I called their fights, and they had moved on. Aljamain
Brady.
Sterling, now he was big for a while, probably not on the same level that he was.
Not the same level as he was. Yeah, he lost the belt at one point. But you also called, was it Sean Brady?
Sean Brady, how's he doing?
He's still a contender.
Okay.
He's still in the top
What
10.
about when we were at Super Bowl in Miami? Masvidal fought Usman. How are they doing?
Usman's still hanging around. He's no longer the champ anymore, but he's hanging around. Masvidal's not even in UFC
I was going to say,
anymore.
I wouldn't even know that those guys, like, that's my point. Used to hear about those guys all the time. I haven't heard about those guys in years now. So
there you go.
All
right. I didn't get to my negative nugget. I'll save that one for tomorrow.
Oh,
Guys,
negative nugget?
I have a negative nugget. I'll get to it tomorrow because I want to expand on it. But guess what?
Although I got a positive nugget if you're rooting for the Sixers to advance. You see this report coming out of Orlando?
That was one of my nuggets I had.
Wow.
I had
All right.
on here.
Well, sources are saying the Magic are dealing with major turmoil in the locker room. A star player is going to demand a trade if the head coach is not fired at the end of the season.
That's via the Ringer, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I saw that. That's a big deal heading into the game tomorrow night, the play-in game. Also, guys, just make sure you get your accountability coffee and post it on TikTok like Bryce Harper. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. He captured accountability coffee.
I'm about to
I'll
go.
just leave you there.
Usually after the segment, I go down the hallway and brew my 5 o'clock cup.
Well, it'll be we're gonna hold you accountable while you're drinking your coffee. All right.
All right. Thanks, Nuggets.
All right. See you guys.
All right. When we come back today, Dave Gallagher, former Philly, joins me to talk about the Phils. He joins me next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Right now, I need caller 6 and 7. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and caller 7. You are entered for this year's Eagles draft party at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I got a pair of Eagles Club Box tickets for a game at Lincoln Financial Field this year. I've got an overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort with a $150 gift card to Ocean. That'll get you a great dinner, I'll tell you that much. I got Ocean Casino Resort gift cards and tickets to shows, concerts, comedy shows. You must be present to win on Thursday, April 23rd at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Caller 6, caller 7, good luck.
Just after 5, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Hill. What's up, everybody? Good to have you with us on a Tuesday. You know, this time of the year is great when the teams are cooperating. When you've got all the teams hanging out, Flyers playoffs, Sixers tomorrow night, and the Phillies playing well. Well, last night they played well. We're going to get into it. Ted in Egg Harbor Township, Jackie in Little Egg Harbor. They're our latest qualifiers. I love talking to Dave Gallagher. I feel like he's one of the most insightful guests that we bring on the show for our listeners. But I wanted to get a big enough sample size of games before we started to break some things down. And this is probably not even enough 16, but we've seen this team score 3 runs in a 27-inning span, and then last night score 6 runs in 6 different innings. So I said, you know what? I want to talk to Dave a little bit about the inconsistencies of this offense now over 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and now into 2026. 9-year Major League veteran, former Philadelphia Philly, Dave Gallagher joins me right now on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Welcome back, Dave. Great to have you again, man.
Hey, Mike. Another season on the roll, and congrats to the Flyers fans. They're on. Speak about being on a roll, right? They ended the season. I think they got one more game left
tonight,
but they're ending on a high note. Yeah, and that's a good way to go into the playoffs.
Yeah, man, that's been an exciting season, and we know the Phillies. Look, we know this team is most likely a playoff-level team, but they brought back the same group of guys, and we've talked about it, and now we're seeing it. When you see this team and compare it to the other ones, does it look eerily similar?
You know what, Mike? I'm rarely controversial. I really have lived my whole life as being like bite my tongue, swallow, just eat it. You know, don't say anything, don't ruffle any feathers. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I'm going to ruffle some feathers. I'm in South Jersey, so I'm surrounded by Philly fans in all sports, and of course, Philadelphia Phillies, right? So I got this gut feeling that Rob Thompson has to the All-Star break, and it doesn't mean that's fair. He obviously knows the game inside and out. He's a baseball lifer. So I don't think it's about him, but I am going to call out the organization, the staffing, and a couple of players. And you will remember, based on our conversations, these 2 players I'm going to call out, I really liked when they first came up, and that was Bohm and Stott. I still like them. But I just feel what's missing is role clarity. Role clarity. Like, do you guys know what we need from you to win a ring? Because this team wants nothing less than winning a ring. You know, that's you started this segment with just now. Their standards are high. But I think if I'm Rob, if I'm that staff, I'm sitting Bohm and Stott, the entire roster. Here's what we need from you guys. Because if the manager's job isn't like, let me try to put these guys in a good position to succeed. So I'm going to use myself as an example. If I was coming up and Jim Fregosi or Dallas Green or any manager that I played for 7 teams, if they come up to me in spring training and say, Dave, here's what we need from you. Above average defense and center. Keep your strikeouts down, your on-base percentage up. Use the whole field. You've got to be a good situational hitter. I need you to get your bunts down. Man on second, nobody out. I need you to get them over. Runner on third, less than 2 outs. We need you. Now, the bulk of the time, you're going to fail sometimes, but that I can accomplish. That is my skill set. If instead the manager says, hey, we need you to hit 15 to 20 home runs. You know, I'm not worried about your strikeouts. And situational hitting, you know, do the best you can. I'm sorry, I'm not going to succeed. Give me what you need from me. Spell it out. And to me, Stott is not doing that. Bohm did it 2 years ago and 3 years ago with the runners in scoring position. Remember, Mike?
Yep.
He was like the top average guy in the entire league.
Yeah, and he knocked in 97 runs back-to-back seasons.
Yes, with double-digit barely home runs? So that's not by chance. That's because of his approach. And maybe for the listeners, I try to explain the best I can. You can tell by an at-bat whether a guy has a good approach. And I'll use Bryce as an example. You see Bryce a lot of times based on somebody who's got high velocity but he also has obviously a few off-speed pitches too. Bryce will hit a fastball over the third base dugout because he's waiting. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Like you're watching a game and you say, oh, he's covering possible off-speed. God help the pitcher if he comes off-speed. You know, and I'm watching Bryce and Stott and Bowman. Sometimes these at-bats don't make sense. So I guess I'm putting it on them a lot, but on staffing, sit these guys down. Should have been done a long time ago. Everybody right through the lineup.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Dave. Dave Gallagher's with us. You used to be a hitting coach, correct?
Yeah, I did Trenton Thunder, Double-A for Red Sox for a few years.
All right, so when you hear a lot of people, as I'm sure you're aware, they are like, why Kevin Long? What is he doing? Blah, 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 blah. What is the role of the hitting coach with this particular group when you see approach and what this offense looks like, the inconsistencies? Is a hitting coach going to shake that up?
Well, communication to me is so key. And if you ever hear of a team that says, here's the way we teach our guys hitting, here's the way we do it, I'd run from that because everybody is different. Hand speed, physical strength or lack thereof, and sometimes size. Like if you look at Alec Boehm, you think he got to hit 30 home runs, you know, with that body. But hand speed is everything. Look at Dansby Swanson last night. I mean, there's not much to that guy, right, physically, but his hands are phenomenal. That's why he's such a good shortstop. Him taking Sanchez out to right field, and there was no tail on that ball. I was watching that game, and I thought, man, that didn't start to tail. That just went out, and it didn't barely make it. That's a little guy. Excuse my cough. But, you know, so the bottom line is everybody is built different. And the approach to everybody with hitting's got to be to the individual. And that's why I keep saying, like, what is the best position you could put these guys in? If you tell Bryson, you know, I'm going to play. I'm not straight platooning you. I wouldn't do it with Marsh either because I love this pitching staff when Wheeler gets healthy. I think I'd go into the season relying on pitching and defense because I know I got enough offense.
Right. So, in other words, you're playing Bryson Stott at second base every day because of the defense, and if he struggles against left-handed pitching, so be it. Same with Marsh in left field. And by the way, Kemp is just not a major league outfielder.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I always feel bad saying that. It's a man's job. He does have a nice short swing, but outfield, am I really going just so I can get a couple of good at bats, maybe better than Marsh? Maybe not. I'm going to give that up. That defense in left field because that affects more than just the left field. You got a pitcher on the mound that's busting his ass to get people out. And now if he loses confidence in the ball getting hit to left field, he starts to overthrow, let me strike a guy out instead of letting him put it in play. It affects everybody. So I run them guys out, but I would have my super sub, Sosa. And I'm resting guys, not a straight platoon, but I'd play him at first when Bryce needs a day off, second when Stott needs a day off, short, third, even left. And I would keep him sharp, maybe get him 400 at bats in the year, 350 or 400, because you will need him. And he'll get some when somebody gets injured. Excuse me. But that's how I think I would look at it. I would rely on the pitching and defense, number one priority. But back to that, clarifying the roles. JT, we need control the pitching staff, control the running game, which he does. Anything you give us offensively, we'll take, and he does that. I already said Bryce is like exactly what you want. I know he gets cold, but that man, if you get in the World Series, there's some people that run from pressure. He runs toward it for sure. He wants it. He lives for it. And he has shown that he can come up big in a big moment. Schwarber, all we need is what he gives, right? He's a DH. He's a thumper. And he has improved. Like, remember when he hit a few years ago, like 190? He'd still give you the home runs, but, man, there's just too many outs in big spots. He's improved so much up like to 240, 250, and still hitting a lot of bombs. So love what he brings. And Crawford, wow, that is so you started with the roster being similar. I think the changes they made were really good. Garcia is a huge upgrade in right. Crawford, huge upgrade just based on defense and speed. If he can hit, I don't expect him to hit 300 the whole year. That's a lot to ask. But I love him batting ninth. take the pressure off, go play us a great center field.
Well, there's a lot there. There's a lot there I want to get into because you said I like him hitting ninth. You know he's hitting over 300. The fans are already saying, you got to move him up. You got to hit him here. You're saying keep him right there.
I would leave him there. You may remember with Turner, I don't think he is the ideal leadoff hitter because he's so aggressive. And I wouldn't want to change him. He's had a hell of a career. I wouldn't want to change him and say, hey, I'd like you to take more pitches just so we can learn a little bit, especially in your first bat. But he likes to attack fastballs, and he's pretty darn good at it. So he does guess a little, but I think he's your best leadoff hitter with what is on the roster. I would leave Crawford alone at ninth, regardless of how good he's doing, because he will adjust in a good way to the pitching after he sees it one time through. He'll understand it better. But don't forget, they adjust on him, too.
You mentioned Garcia. He is the addition. Now, you said an upgrade. Is that a defensive upgrade or both offense and defense over Nick Castellanos?
I think both. Obviously, a definite upgrade defensively. He's going to cover more ground. He's got a plus arm. Yeah, and he has a plus arm.
Oh, he's got a hose.
Yeah, he does. So I think that's a huge upgrade, and I do think he will hit. It's going to help him that it's not all on him. You know, that he's got guys around him that can drive the ball. I think he's going to settle in. And, in Philly, like when it gets hot, the ball flies
out, yeah.
I hit a ball out of there right.
Well, and the one thing, with him is, this team has lacked that right-handed bat in the lineup behind Harper. Yeah. They've had Bohm there. They moved him out. They've tried everybody. They're now going with Garcia. You wonder if he's going to be able to, provide the protection for Bryce Harper to get to help out the whole lineup, because it seems that they're still deficient with that right-handed bat in the middle of the lineup.
And there it goes back to inconsistency, right? Now, I get it. Like, this guy's hitting, let me move him up. This guy's not hitting, let him move it down. I just feel as a player, when you're showing up to the ballpark, I'm talking about your main starters. I was both. For about 4 or 5 years, I was an everyday player, and I batted mostly leadoff or second. If I wasn't there, I'd maybe go 6 or 7. But for the most part of my career, I was showing up knowing I was a center fielder, and I was batting leadoff or second, and that's what was going to stay. And strangely enough, I saw the back of a baseball card of mine. I haven't looked at one of them in a while, but it said my minor league batting average over 3,000 at bats, like, 3,500 bats or something, was 276. And major league, it was well over 3,000 at bats, was 272. And I thought, well, obviously the pitchers were a lot better. But there's something about consistency in your approach. I was like through the middle, but for a reason that allowed me to see the pitch longer so I could lay off pitches like I wasn't tricked as much. You know what I mean? Yeah, it cut into my home runs, but that wasn't my job, hitting first or second. It was clear to me what my role was on the team. Let me get on base for these guys, Carlton Fisk, Carol Baines, Cal Ripken when I was with Baltimore, just them to drive in runs. But I want to tell you something that Eric Davis of the Cincinnati Reds, he's still like high up an administrative ladder with Cincinnati. And I talk to him often. We're doing a business together. And, he said something. I said, AD, what's going on? Like, you're around the players of today. He's at every level, at minor league level, major league level. He sees them, he talks to them, and he didn't hesitate. He said, the biggest difference from when we played is they're very conscious about their brand. And I thought, wow, I wouldn't know anything about that branding because there was no social media back when I played. I understood that that's how you got paid. Your numbers is how you got paid, how you raised your family. But I thought, man, because I can't point to a player and say he's selfish, but sometimes it looks like that. Man on second, nobody out, right-handed hitter, and you're not even attempting to go the other way to move him up. Like you pull a ball foul.
Right.
That's like blatantly selfish to me. But that's why I'm saying that you can hear the frustration. Like, come on, guys, it's the staffing. It's been a while where it's looked the same. You have talent to get to the playoff. You need to get over the hump. Play as a team. And you're helping. You're helping Bohm. You're helping Stott. If you clarify the role, here's all we need you to do. I'm going to keep running you out there. You play great defense. Bryson, but I need you to hit solid. Hit me 270, 280. Your home runs will come by accident, or you'll get ahead in the count. He can do it. 10, 15 home runs, I don't care, but I want your defense and limit your strikeouts. And Alec, the approach you've had 2 years ago and 3 years ago, we could take that right now. You give me 90 to 100 RBIs, man, I would take that in a heartbeat with the rest of this roster and the pitching. So there's, to me, your key point, the most important thing. When Wheeler comes back, can he, at least by the All-Star break, can he become the number 1 or 2? Because if he can become 1 or 2, Sanchez and him, in any order, then that pushes back Luzardo to 3, and he's a damn good 3. And now Nola and Painter 4 and 5. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, Painter obviously he has had impressed. He had the migraine situation, which was an odd thing, but he came in relief and I thought maybe pitched his best. The one thing, we look at this team and obviously it's very similar. You mentioned Crawford. Crawford's coming out, and I wonder, you're a veteran player on a team. You see a 22-year-old kid. He has a completely different approach than almost everybody on this team.
I agree.
Does that rub off on guys or not really?
I don't think it, well, if
like
anything,
I'm saying to myself, how do some of these veteran players that are struggling not see what he's doing and say, you know what, maybe I should talk to him a little bit, or maybe you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems that he is going so well, and he's the one guy on the team that does stuff that nobody else does.
But, Mike, think about what you just said, because it makes way too much common sense. However, it's an egotistical life to play, right? To be a major league player. Are they really, is a veteran player going to go up to a rookie and ask him about his approach? It's always the other way around, which is okay. And that's why I keep reverting back to staffing. Come on, guys. Like, if it's about pay, then sit them down and say, I will take care of you. Help us win a ring.
Yeah.
Me and the GM and the manager, they're the decision makers. But make it clear, this is what we need from you to win a ring. I will tell you this, the fan base, to me, enough. Like, they've had enough of watching the same thing. And the staff, the administration, that's why I think by the All-Star break, Rob may not have a job. And it could be fair or unfair, but if they're hanging around 500, a couple games over, a couple games under, I don't think he has a job, not because he's not knowledgeable, but because they got to make a change.
I listen, I agree with what you're saying. And again, I don't know, and you might have a different opinion than me, what you think of Rob Thompson as a manager. Is he a good manager? Is he a bad manager? I don't know if he's good or bad. I think he's kind of the manager in today's game, unfortunately, I don't think means as much as it used to during your era. I think there's just so much analytics that have changed, right? That have changed the role of the manager, at least through the 162-game season. Come playoff time, maybe a little different. But what is the manager's role today? Set the culture. Make sure that, and if the voice starts to get stale, you can't change the players. It might come down to a manager, whether he's good, bad, or indifferent.
I think you just nailed it. And look what we are now saying the same thing with a different phrase. But you just nailed it. That's my point, is it probably isn't done anymore where you sit your roster down. Like, if it's me, I'm gonna play fantasy manager right now. Because I thought about this in the off season. I think I even said it in our last conversation at the end of last season. When the guys were packing up and going home, we had one final call to wrap it up. And I believe I said this, that I would let them know at a time when they can work on it. Look, you're going to be my starting second baseman. I'm not guaranteeing it. Somebody could outplay you and all of a sudden, boom, you're out. But it looks like you're going to be my starting second baseman. I'll go right around the field. Here's what we need from you so that you could take the entire offseason and train for this. I want to tell you, for your listening audience, one of my favorite drills at my house in Central Jersey. I built my own batting cage. It wasn't just it was sweet. It was nice. I built a separate building from my home across the driveway, but I had indoor insulation, shower, hot, dry sauna, everything. I made this thing beautiful. And I had a self-feeding pitching machine. And my favorite drill as a hitter was, I'm in there by myself, 30 pitches I'm going to get from this machine, but I set it on high velocity, inside corner. And then I crowded the plate to simulate that. I used my imagination. I got 2 strikes, this pitcher out here, even though it's a machine, but I would pretend he's got 3 different pitches. In order for me to cover all 3, slider, change, fastball, I'm going to have to wait. It's going to be uncomfortable because this is an inside strike. It's too close to take. And what I would do is start trying to hit that inside strike to like right center. And the first couple were always ugly, it beat me. And then all of a sudden I'd suck my hands in, drag the barrel, get it on the barrel, even though it was so close to my body. And I was shocked at how much I could get on it to right center. And then I'd start practicing it, and I got consistently good at doing that. Now, when I go up to the plate in a game and I have that situation and I tell myself to wait, I've done it.
Yeah.
So I really do wait. Waiting is not just a sentence telling yourself to do it. You have to have done it and created a good habit. So back to watching these guys. Watch them tonight for listening audience. When they get in certain counts, you should be able to picture 2-0, this guy should not get beat by a fastball in this count. If the pitcher throws him a 2-0 changeup and the hitter starts early and swings over it, that's not a bad approach. That's a good pitch. You understand the difference, what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And, it's funny. We probably could talk about hitting and pitching and managing and stuff for the next couple of hours here. But I will tell you, one night you score 1 run an inning for 3 nights in a row, and then last night you score 6, and you wonder, are they getting close to more consistency, or is this just who they are?
I don't want it to be who they are because they'll end up the same way. They'll make the playoffs and they'll be ousted because you can be pitched to, right? You can be pitched to when you're selling out on every count. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. You can be pitched to. And you're facing at the end of the year the best pitching. That's why they got to where they are. So all I'm saying is, and this is a lot for me to even ruffle any feathers, but I think there's time to make a change and put a little heat on them. Like, guys, need you to do this. This is what we need out of you.
Well, Donnie Baseball's sitting on the bench there with you this year.
Yes, he is.
I know.
Yes, he is.
That might have been the move that said, hey, if we don't get off to a good start, we got to have somebody there, much like they did when Girardi was out and Thompson came in. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure to have the conversation as always. It went by fast. We'll do it again soon.
Let me leave you with this. Not only the management wants to win and the fans, but you got your veteran players, Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Real Muto, Wheeler. They're getting long in the tooth. They want to win a championship, World Series, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go off. Maybe they should on the team. Just say, guys, let's go. What do we do? Kick it in gear. Let's play the game as a team. Anyway, thank you again, Mike.
Dave Gallagher, everybody. Absolutely. We'll talk soon. 9-year Major League Baseball veteran, 1995 with the Philadelphia Phillies, and always kind enough to jump on board and just give us some knowledge of a guy who played at the highest level. And as he said, you look at this team and what's different? Not much. So, as I kind of said yesterday, he said it's not, he's not blaming the manager. He's not saying it's his fault, but you might need to do something. Now, last night, and by the way, before the game, Thompson was asked a question regarding holding players accountable, and his answer was, if you don't think I'm holding them accountable, that's just not right. We don't know what these guys say behind closed doors, so let's keep that in mind as well. All right, that was Dave Gallagher. We'll talk to Dave throughout the baseball season. I thoroughly enjoyed that. In fact, it went too fast. The way Dave explained stuff with his experience of playing the game, and by the way, Dave played with multiple organizations. So he mentioned Eric Davis, Cincinnati Reds. He played with the Orioles with Eddie Murray and Cal Ripken, and the White Sox with Harold Baines he mentioned there. Some of the names he just slips in the conversation. Like, come on, man. This is unbelievable. Love it. Great stuff. Hopefully you always enjoy when Dave Gallagher joins the show, because I do. I enjoy it big time, and I feel like we learn something every single time. When we come back, Flyers are going to the playoffs, but how far can they go? What's the matchup look like with the Penguins? Find out when our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso, is back next on the Sports Bash. All right, 5:34, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Big night at the barn last night. It started 2-0 Carolina. Michkov with a goal to make it 2-1. And then we had a tie game as Trevor Zegras got on the board with this. Tim Saunders on the call on 97.3 ESPN. But what was it like inside the building when that happened? There's only one man to ask. Kevin Durso was there covering it for 97.3 ESPN.com. 2-0. What was it like? 2-0 Carolina. What's it like in there?
Tense. Very tense. The idea that Tuesday was looming large at that point, and it wasn't like it was a bad first period. They came out and they actually had a lot of scoring chances early, and the place was ready to erupt as soon as something good would happen. And then one bad bounce goes against you. They give up the first goal, penalty taken not long after, another goal, and now all of a sudden you're facing 2-0, and it's like, okay, this looks like it might not be in the cards tonight. You're going to have to come back against a team that, despite holding out a lot of players, they're coached a certain way. Rod Brindamore coached Carolina team. They all play the same way, whether you're the top guy or the 30th guy who comes up for a game in this situation. They play tough. And then the Flyers just started to chip away at it, kept getting their chances, finally cashed in on one. And once they cashed in on one, it seemed like they were bound and determined from there to play the type of game they wanted to play.
Yeah, so give us the arena on the Zegras goal. What's the feeling from where it starts to where it was at that point?
Yeah, so I don't think you could have picked two better players to score the goals than
the
Flyers
said.
got. Michkov and Zegras are both very fiery players.
Unless Martone would have scored.
Well, sure, but I was going more off of, in saying that, I'm going more off of the reaction. They're both fiery guys. They celebrate as hard as they play sometimes. So you get in those celebrations, the crowd's already ready to go crazy at any given moment, and then you add those two into it. I mean, you see the way Zegras reacts to scoring a goal in a big game, and this for him is, it's a long time coming for him. You spend 5 years in Anaheim, and as much as Anaheim has made the playoffs this year as well, you don't know that that's going to happen when your career is looking for a potential pivot, and you get traded to Philadelphia. It's a new beginning for you, and you're in a position to make this happen. You want to make it happen for yourself. And he comes through in a big way. It was huge for them to get a goal off of that power play, because you weren't going to see many power plays during the course of this game. And sure enough, they cash in on one, just like Carolina did in the first period. It evens itself out on the special teams play. Things that evened themselves out on 5-on-5 with Michkov's goal. Two really great passes on both goals. Martone on Zegras's and Denver Barkey on Michkov's, and that just set things up, and that kind of got the ball rolling, because from there after that, there was a sense that now, okay, you're one goal away from this potentially, especially once you got to the third period, win a game. I know it's cliche, but that's exactly what the message was.
Yeah, but you're also one goal the other way from going, and it's 2-2 going into the third. Is it a tense third or an energetic third? What was it like?
Oh, it's definitely tense, because everybody knows what's at stake, and Carolina didn't stop coming.
The last 2.5 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was like what we talked about yesterday. I'm like, just make this a World Cup game, get yourself to overtime, and see what happens here.
Sure, and Carolina had some close calls at the end. From my particular vantage point, they're shooting down the end where I sit. Carolina is. So there was a shot that went off the outside of the net, came very close. It's in the building. You could sense that people were just nervous about what was potentially happening, trying to will this team to win. They were trying to will themselves to win. It was a great atmosphere, playoff atmosphere, but certainly there were close calls down the stretch before you got to that overtime. And then in overtime too, Carolina hit the post in overtime on a shot that, from, again, my vantage point, now I'm looking the other direction of the ice, I thought it went in, and thought for sure, oh no, that deflates the energy in the building. Now you have to go to Tuesday. I thought for sure that shot was in, and it turned out it wasn't. And not long after that was when Michkov got a chance on a breakaway in overtime. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is storybook for him to be able to be the one who puts them into the playoffs. And he just didn't elevate the puck enough once he got in close on the goaltender. A really good goaltending game too. I mean, everything about it, it was exactly what you want from a playoff atmosphere and a potential playoff clincher.
So they win the game last night, and of course it goes to the shootout. What about the overtime? The 4-on-4, more. I mean, I got to imagine that building is like mixed emotion here because you get a point, but then the thought of you still need a point tonight potentially. So once they get the point, how does it feel?
I think at that point, you're just determined to try to win the game by any means necessary. The building is energized. They're ready to celebrate at that point because now it's within your grasp. You get the next goal, you're in. And any opportunity that went the direction that the Flyers were trying, for them to potentially score, like the Michkov breakaway, you could sense at some point, I mean, I have my phone out as much as possible trying to document it. And you saw the lift from the building. Oh, he's got it. He's way out ahead of the pack. He's going to get a breakaway here. He's a skill guy. He knows how to score. He already scored in the game. You're almost thinking at that given moment, this is it. He's going to bury this, and he doesn't do it there. And I don't think, the interesting part is that and this kind of, as much as it was shades of 2010 with the shootout, in 2010, when the Flyers went to a shootout against the Rangers and Henrik Lundqvist is in goal at the other end, and you have to win the game, there is no exception. You're incredibly nervous because of the fact that the Flyers aren't that good in shootouts. I think this year there was a calming presence because you've got Trevor Zegras, you've got Matvei Michkov, and then you've got other guys that you can throw into that situation, assuming that they do or don't score, it goes longer. And your goaltending's been good in the shootouts this year. So then I think there was actually a confidence that the shootout, you might have them right where you want them to be able to potentially win this thing. It got tense when you're not scoring. It comes down to needing a save because one goal against, and same thing like we're talking about with the third period, one goal against and it could go the other way. But I think there was again that energy once Tyson Forster scored in the fourth round. It's like, okay, one more save from your goaltender who's been how fitting, the guy who's been your star.
Take us through. They start with Zegras, and then he gets stoned, and you're like, well, he's the guy that you usually hold on to because he's the best, and he loses out right off the bat. What's it like at that moment?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything different. I think at that point you're thinking of the next round. The Flyers have pretty consistently.
Oh, that's not how it felt in my house.
I'm sure. The Flyers are pretty consistently in the first two rounds of the shootout. They've mixed them up a couple of times, but they've pretty consistently gone Zegras, Michkov in some combination. They for a little while they were sending Zegras out second, kind of like the secret weapon. If Michkov got him on the board in the first round and you got a save, you could put the game away.
There was a game, I guess it was sometime way back. They played the Islanders, and there was a shootout, and Zegras went last in that one. And I was thinking back to that day. It was an afternoon game, like on a Saturday afternoon, sometime around the holidays.
It might have been Black Friday.
Yeah, it wasn't Black Friday because that was the day the Eagles played, but it was around the holidays.
Okay.
It was a Saturday afternoon around the holidays, maybe Christmas time, and Zegras went last, and I'm thinking back to that game against the Islanders, and I'm saying, man, they used him first here, and he got stonewalled, and I'm like, oh, man, if this is a back-and-forth situation, who do you go to? And Forster, who's 1 for 8, comes out and buries one.
Yeah, 1 for 8 in his career going into that, but hadn't had a shootout attempt all year because they either took care of business in all of the shootouts while he was active so quickly they didn't need to use him, or he was out of the lineup. So he comes in and again, how fitting for a guy like that too. Somebody you didn't expect to have 10 days ago on the roster is the one who plays the hero from the shooting perspective of the shootout, and your MVP of the season at the other end in goal is the hero with the save that you need to get in there. And doing it, to tie the 2010 thing into the picture, doing it with Brian Boucher's in the broadcast booth, Danny Briere's the general manager in the management box, like all those players. We're walking down to the locker room after the game last night to go down and go into this room to interview the players. And Scott Hartnell had done the interview on the bench with Vladar. We walked by him and people were saying, look familiar? Like, cause he was on that team too. So and he acknowledged absolutely it did. So definitely one of those moments that you'll never forget for this team, for sure.
You know what's funny? They played Saturdays and had shootouts on like every single Saturday. I'm looking back. Maybe it was the game against the Rangers. It was a 5-4 game against the Rangers. Maybe that was, I don't know, but I'll tell you what.
Then they lost that one. Then okay, that might make even more sense then.
I got to go back and take a look. But anyway, when Zegras doesn't make, and then Michkov, you're down, and then of course you go to Forster. The moment though that Vladar makes the save, what's it like in there?
Incredible, because if you didn't have any clue what this meant to everybody involved, just watch the way they celebrated. I mean, there are teams, and I saw a lot of this floating around social media that, like, from the Pittsburgh side now, that's the matchup for the first round, that, look at the way they celebrated. Pittsburgh was business-like. It's like they've been there before. Whatever. That's exactly the point, though. They haven't been there before. This was huge for them when nobody gave them a shot from the beginning of the year. One of the things that's interesting to me about the celebration is, I knew the players were going to be excited about this, and maybe not to quite to that level. I mean, it was really an emotional celebration on the ice. But through all of the big moments that they've had in recent weeks, Zegras scoring in overtime against Dallas, Martone against Boston, Rick Tocchet's has been about as even keel as it gets on the bench. No real showing of emotion, like just shake the coach's hands and walk off the bench, and that's that. And I think you saw what it all culminated with. He wasn't ready to have that moment until they were until the job was completed for them to get to the playoffs. And you saw what it meant to him, too. I mean, I got to imagine that between one being a former Flyer, coming back to coach this team, and dealing with everything that goes through the course of a season and making it as one. But when he was hired by the Flyers, that was the knock on him, was he's only been to he's only had 2 playoff appearances as a coach. And one was kind of a technicality in 2020 where they took more teams to the playoffs and had that play-in round. So it's huge for him too. I think that it's kind of a monkey off of his back to get to the playoffs with a team like this that people didn't give a shot and they bought in at the right time.
Now, obviously, we will talk more about the matchup when it gets a little closer. However, they will play the Penguins. Initial thought, what is your takeaway on that matchup?
It's going to be a good one, and I don't think that this is too big for the Flyers just because they're going to be underdogs in the series or anything like that. I certainly understand the factor that comes into play with Pittsburgh about all the veterans that they have and have been there for all of the previous playoff runs and the Cup runs and all of that. Sidney Crosby is still Sidney Crosby, and Evgeny Malkin is still Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang is still Chris Letang, and you add in Erik Karlsson, guys like that, and they've improved their goaltending this year with Stuart Skinner and Artur Shilovs. Those two guys have kind of stabilized it a lot more than the situation they've had in years past. But I think when you see the mentality that the Flyers have, and to be honest with you, playing playoff style games and having to treat every game like a playoff game for the last 3 weeks to a month, that doesn't hurt either. It puts you in that mentality right away. You're a hot team. You're coming into this with the right mentality. And, that's what's going to be very 2022 Phillies about them. Nobody gave the Phillies a shot once they got to the playoffs. It was like, okay, they got there. That's great. And that's where the ride's going to end. And the team didn't think that. They kept telling themselves, we just need to keep going, keep doing our thing. This is how many more wins we need. And the Flyers can look at it the same way. Go out and play your game and try to do what you can to counter them. It's not like they matched up poorly against Pittsburgh during the course of the season. If nothing else, I look at the 2 games that they lost to Pittsburgh, which both were blowout losses. One was the day Tyson Forster got hurt, and the air in the building was gone once he was injured. So that game went off the rails for that particular reason. And the other was on the back end of a back-to-back in the middle of January when you were scuffling so bad you couldn't get out of your own way. I don't see that team being the one that's in the playoffs either. So I take the 2 games that they won against Pittsburgh, even though those were both shootout wins and you don't have the benefit of the shootout in the playoffs. I think that the mentality of getting those games to a shootout and playing competitive games helps them in this series.
All right. I know we're way off here, but just how far do you think what's a realistic to say this team can go and that would be a success?
It's interesting. I mean, it's already a success. They're playing with how. That's the other thing about anybody who's on the Pittsburgh side saying, look at them celebrating the way they did. There's no expectations. The expectation wasn't even that they were going to make the playoffs, and they're playing with house money now. So that almost should be an easing thing for them and something that provides tension for Pittsburgh. You get back. I know people didn't give Pittsburgh a shot, but when you get to the playoffs and you have Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and so on. It's you have expectations with Hall of Famers on your roster to be that kind of team once you get to the playoffs. Crosby's built for it, right? Like that kind of thing. So I think there's more pressure on Pittsburgh to do something with this, finishing second in the division, having the players that did. I mean, Pittsburgh at the beginning of the season, the conversation for them was, if they weren't in a playoff position at the deadline, would they actually trade Sidney Crosby to give him a shot to win a cup? And now they're in the playoffs. So there's pressure for them. The Flyers didn't have to worry about that at all. Getting here is already a success, and it's a great foundational piece for where they want to go in the future. It's just the start. This is just the starting point, but I think there's belief in the room that this doesn't have to be the end either. I think, I heard you bring up, and we had this conversation back around close to the trade deadline, and about when Danny Briere publicly said about, we're focused on the years ahead, not the present, right? And what that kind of message sends. Dan Vladar kind of let us in on a little secret that he even said he hopes Briere's not mad at him for saying to the media. Vladar said that Briere told all the players at the beginning of the season playoffs were the expectation and didn't tell the media that. And the media message was, we're still trying to build this thing. That's not what success looks like and all that. So he downplayed it to the media, but told the locker room, we think you're a playoff team. So when he did nothing at the deadline and let it be, that was a message that was sent saying, we still believe in what you guys are building and think you can finish this job. And now they have. And it's a testament to what Briere has done all season.
All right, Kevin Durso. By the way, the game was a Saturday, October 25th. It was against the Islanders, a 4-3 shootout. But apparently Zegras went first in that shootout. I thought he went last, but he did score in that shootout, and Michkov also scored to win the game. So it was Zegras who went first. Actually, he didn't go first. Brink went first, then Zegras, and then Michkov.
That was right. It was right around that. They had played a game against Pittsburgh right around the same time, and Zegras couldn't participate in the shootout because he got a penalty at the tail end of overtime. So it was him and Crosby couldn't go in the shootout in that particular instance, and they had to use everybody else. So Brink scored in the shootout against Pittsburgh, and they kept using him for a little bit because he had some success there. Yeah. So it definulely applies.
Now he's not even on the team anymore. It was a holiday. It was Halloween.
Halloween, yeah.
I was at a Halloween party. I was at a brewery, and the guy DJing was dressed up like Hulk Hogan. And now it's all coming back to me. I went through my phone to look at the pictures of when this happened. I'm like, I know I saw this game, and I could have sworn it was against the Islanders. So that's what it was. All right, we will preview the series later on this week. Flyers do play tonight against Montreal. I got to imagine not a lot of jump tonight from the Islanders.
Yeah, it's the roster. It reflects kind of a preseason game. They're playing 9 regulars are out of the lineup tonight after a bulk of call-ups. That's part of the reason why I'm sitting at home and I'm not there either. I'm trying to get over an upper body injury. There's been some illness going around the Durso household. So just a tad under the weather. I battled it out last night as it seemed like it started to set in. But today, rest up and get ready for the weekend, because the weekend's when everything really is going to get kicked off.
All right, well, when the schedule comes out, we'll let you know. We'll have Kevin on later on this week. Kevin Durso, Flyers, and the Canadians tonight. They'll play Pittsburgh in the playoffs starting this weekend. Thanks, man.
You got it. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Kevin Durso, as we get ready for the Flyers playoff run. And, of course, Durso will be on throughout the Flyers playoff run. Follow him at Kevin_Durso for all the Flyers. All right, I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, we're going to get out of here with that. We ran a little long with Durso there, but good breakdown of what happened last night at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. But before we go, last chance today to enter to win a pair of tickets, Club Box tickets, for a game at Lincoln Financial Field. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and caller 7 right now. You are entered for this year's Eagles draft party. It is at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. One lucky winner will win a pair of Eagles Club Box tickets for a game at the Link. We'll also have an overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, along with a $150 Ocean Casino gift card. We'll have other great prizes, concert tickets, comedy shows. You must be present to win on Thursday, April 23rd at the Balcony Bar at Ocean Casino Resort. Caller 6, caller 7, Good luck. I'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great night.